Now Yu Yingyi will bring out his dark square bishop with a move like bishop to e3, followed by queen to d2. Alright, and let's talk real quick about the qualifier format. So it's an 8-player double elimination. As you guys saw earlier, I showed you guys the bracket. And these will be 6-game matches, so 2 games of 5+1, and then they'll play 2 games of 3+1, and then 2 games of 1+1. And the first player to reach 3.5 points wins the match. And if there will be a 3-3 tie, then an Armageddon game will have to decide. Alright, so queen d2 by Yu Yingyi. I suppose he wants to go for a move like bishop to f4, getting control over the diagonal. Knight a5 by Vasquez. I slightly prefer white's position here. I feel like black's bishops aren't very effective. This bishop is blocked in by the pawn on d5. And this bishop on g7 is kind of blocked in by this pawn over here on d4 wall. Whereas white's bishops are both exerting a lot of pressure on black's position. Queen c8, good move by Vasquez. Perhaps he wants to trade off that bishop on b7, which right now is a little bit passive. And Yu Yingyi could do something similar. Go for a move like bishop to h6 to weaken the dark squares around Vasquez king a little bit. Yu Yingyi plays b3, stopping black from playing knight to c4, but perhaps now is a good time for Castor to play bishop a6. So let's see if he will go for that. Alright, so bishop a6, Yu Yingyi wants to keep the bishop on the board, that's why he goes bishop to c2, e6, solidifying the center. Alright, and rook a to c1 to add a little bit of protection to the pawn on c3, knight c6 by Vasquez. And let's see, I mean, I would think at some point Yu Yingyi is going to go bishop to h6, trade off those bishops, maybe follow up with h4, h5 to put some pressure on black's king. You can also start with h4 right away, and there we have the move bishop h6. The advantage of starting with the move bishop h6 opposed to the move h4 is that now h4 cannot be met with black's move h5. Now let's see what Vasquez is going to do. A move like knight e7 might make sense here to bring the knight over to the defense. He goes queen c7. I still do like the idea of going h4, h5 here, and let's see if Yu Yingyi is going to go for it. I think he definitely has the edge here right out of the opening. And so let's see if that is what he is going to go for. Okay. There are no top players playing in this one because a lot of top players are already qualified to the main event. Yesterday we saw Hikaru playing in the Swiss portion just for practice, but he's not playing today again. He already has a spot. So here we see players who are just below that top level. For example, someone like Yu Yingyi, he's over 2700, but he's not a top 10 player. So he did not get his invite, so he's gonna have to work for it. And he goes for the move knight e5, knight c8 by Vasquez. I mean, he's really asking for trouble here with the move rook f3 by Yu Yingyi. He goes h4, also a nice move. He wants to go h5. I suppose Vasquez wants to go knight at d6 to perhaps go to e4. But it's taking a lot of time. And in the meantime, Yu Yingyi is getting a bit of a free hand on the king side. And so let's see how he's going to put that to work here. Time is approximately even. But I think Yu Yingyi definitely can be happy here about the outcome of the opening. Knight d6 by Vasquez. Maybe now h5 to continue with the plan. Rook f3, also still a good move to apply some pressure here along this f-file. And we see him improving his position with rook c to e1. Perhaps he wants to discourage Vasquez from playing knight e4. He could reinforce that move with the move bishop to b7. Now knight e4 is definitely on the table. h5 has been played by Yu Yingyi. So let's see, black certainly can go knight e4 here. Okay, goes queen e7, also a very reasonable move, moving the queen over to the defense. Rook f3 by Yu Yingyi. And I think now is a good time to jump with a knight to e4, either with this knight or with this knight. Let's see which one he's going to choose, because if you give white too much time, then the threats on the king side are going to become a little bit too much. Like queen g5 is there, h6 is there. So you wanna strike back somehow. Yu Yingyi also now up 40 seconds on the clock, and there we have a knight fe4 on the board. I suppose that Yu Yingyi is going to take once, or, you know, he can also just move his queen and sort of ignore what is going on. In case black goes f6, you can go for a move like knight to g4, and then you threaten to come in with a move like queen to h6. So white definitely the one having some pressure here. This king on g7 will definitely feel the heat for the next couple of moves. So let's see how he's gonna how he's gonna try to put Vasquez under pressure here. Okay, takes an e4 with the knight. You have to take with the pawn. If you take with the knight first, white can trade off and then take an f7, and that's just game over. So Vasquez does take with the pawn and rook to h3. Now Yu Yongyi is ready to take on g6 and open up the h-file. So very clever move by Vasquez. g5, closing down the h-file, and all of a sudden black's doing quite okay. I mean, if this h-file remains closed, you know, white is not doing that much. King h8, good move, and now black's ready to kick this knight away with f6. And this is a tricky stage for Yu Yongyi. He had a big initiative before, but now it's slowly but surely fading away, and he has to be careful here, because now Vasquez has the easier moves with f6, kicking the knight away, maybe a move like knight f5. So let's see how Yu Yongyi is going to handle this situation. He goes rook to h5, targeting the pawn on g5, f6, attacking the knight and defending this pawn over here, knight to c4. Perhaps Vasquez can strike here with a move like e5. If you take, black can take over here and take advantage of white's queen on d2. So again, this one is turning around a little bit. Perhaps Vasquez now with a slight advantage. He takes on c4 first, white recaptures. Now in case of e5, you can perhaps take this pawn on e4. So let's see what he's going to do. Queen f7, also a good move, attacking this rook over here. And then if you go e5, you attack the pawn on c4. So Vasquez having a good position, but he is down 30 seconds on the clock. Let's see what he's going to come up with. He's going to have to be careful because there's only a 1 second increment. So, you know, if you keep making your moves, you're not going to flag, but you only have 1 second to think. With a 2 second increment, you have 1 second to think and 1 second to move. But here with 1 second, you just have to use that 1 second to move. All right, so he goes rook, queen f7, attacking the rook. The rook is probably going to slide back to h3 or maybe h2. I would expect h3. It can still move back into the center. That way, h2 or h1 to me looks a little bit odd. You can also go for a move like g4, but that is always going to expose the king in the future. So let's see what Yu Yongyi is going to do. I expect this one, rook to h3. And we have queen e2, okay, defending the rook, also very reasonable. And he steps out of the d-file, so makes a lot of sense. Queen g6 by Vasquez, keeping an eye on the rook and defending that pawn on e4 a little bit more. So let's see what Yu Yongyi is going to do here. Perhaps Vasquez wants to go f5, and now the g5 pawn is no longer hanging. So let's see what Yu Yongyi is going to do. He goes rook to h2, okay, f5 by Vasquez. He's pushing his pawns up the board. I'm starting to like black's position more and more. I think this rook on h2 is quite misplaced. So f3, in case you take, there might be a check, but okay, you can just move the king over. So curious to see what Vasquez is going to do here. e5, also very reasonable. He does take. Pawn takes, and I think here e5 is really the move you want to make, but he prepares it with the move queen f6. Alright, so let's see what Yu Yongyi is going to do here. I suppose he wants to go e5 at some point, but white can still take, so it's not that easy to get that move in just yet. So let's see how Yu Yongyi will deal with the situation. Both players just below a minute, so this one is definitely heating up. We're headed for a time scramble. Alright, so let's see what he's going to do. Rook h5 might make some sense to put some pressure on the g5 pawn. You can move your king out of the way to maybe move this rook over. Yu Yongyi taking his time here. He goes for rook to h5, putting pressure on this pawn. Perhaps he wants to go for a move like queen e5. Because after the queen trade, this pawn on g5 will be hanging. If you move this rook over, you're going to hang the e6 pawn. So let's see what Vasquez is going to do. He goes for g4, trying to blast open the kingside. But wait, does this allow rook takes f5? In case black takes, you take on e8. And after the trade, the king on h8 is checkmated because this pawn on h6. So 4 was played, bishop f3. Now queen e5, forcing the trade of queens. But this pawn is weak. This rook on h5 can come in to g5 to g7. Bishop e3 now, defending this pawn over here. And you could follow it up with the move c5, putting pressure on this pawn on e6. Bishop d3, also a fine move. But I think Yu Yongyi definitely has the edge here. Can he put this one away and take a 1-0 lead? Let's see what Vasquez is going to do. Maybe bishop to d3 to try to remove the defender of the c4 pawn, but you're going to weaken your own pawns as well. He goes bishop to b7, okay, rook g5 perhaps, aiming for g7. And if you go rook e7, then you hang the f5 pawn. So bishop to a6, putting pressure on the c4 pawn. Perhaps now you just go in with the rook. Let's see what white's going to do. And Caster offered a draw a couple moves ago, but Yu Yongyi just declined it. Rook to g7. I suppose you take now. Okay, so takes, and take on a7 maybe. Takes on a7, rook takes c3. There is rook takes e6, but maybe black can make a draw with just checking. Here, check, check, check. Okay, he takes on e6. Okay, check, here, check. Rook c8, that looks way too passive. Maybe just trade and push the d-pawn off the board. 10 seconds apiece. Okay, take, d5, there goes the d-pawn. Rook d8, d6. You can go king g8, but there is a check over here. This looks lost. Check. King f8, d7, and black is completely suck. You can pick up this pawn as well. Yu Ying must be winning this game. Rook e7, that's game over. King f8, rook e8 trade, and the h-pawn is going to decide the game. h7, h8, and that's all she wrote. Alright, so Yu Ying takes the lead in the match, and here we have another matchup between Dennis Lazavik and Matthias Bluebaum. We see that Bluebaum won the first game with the white pieces, so let's see if Dennis Lazavik can strike back in game number 2. He goes for the Catalan opening, and Bluebaum playing this new line with bishop to b4 check and pawn a5. Now black strikes in the center real quick with c5, and goes queen b6, putting pressure on the knight, knight c6. All of this is theory. I had this in a recent game against Nicolas Theodoru. b3, I think Nicolas played pawn h5, bishop b6 also possible. That's what Christopher Yu played in a game against me. h5 has been played, knight d2, bishop d7. All still following that game I had against Nicolas, knight f3, rook fc8. And white is a very slight edge here because white has got 2 pawn islands. But black is pretty solid here. I mean, very often you can go for c5, c4. a4 is a possibility as well to try to get rid of that isolated a-pawn. So white has a very slight edge here, but black has very good chances to hold. So let's see what Bluebaum is going to do here. Yeah, both players are extremely well prepared. As you guys can see here, Dennis Lazavik has not spent a single second up until move 20. So let's see what Bluebaum is going to do here. I mean, I expect a move like c5, and there we have it. Black wants to go for a move like a4 or c4. So let's see. In case of a4, perhaps you take. This a-pawn is probably going to fall in the foreseeable future, but black has to spend some time to regain it. And in the meantime, white can put some pressure on this pawn on d5. So even though I think Bluebaum should hold this one, he still has some work to be done. And Dennis, he definitely has a slight edge. Now the thing is, in a classical game, you know, you can spend like 10, 15 minutes, come up with some accurate moves, and you can hold. But in a blitz game, it's not that easy. You have to play quickly. You cannot fall too far behind the clock. And that is why these positions can sometimes be a little bit unpleasant. So queen e6 by Bluebaum. Let's see what Dennis is going to do here. Perhaps he can target this pawn on a5 with a move like queen d2. They would also target the pawn on d5 or a move like queen c3. So let's see. In either case, Bluebaum is going to go for a move like c4 or a4. And we could easily head for a 4 versus 3 endgame. Let's say black goes c4 here. White can take. We could trade everything off. Then black can take here. Although, you know, you can also take this pawn on h5. So let's see what Bluebaum is going to do here. I think both of these moves are very likely. And there we have the move c4. So let's see. I think Dennis is probably going to take on d5. You can take this pawn over here. But I suppose black is going to take everything on b3. And black should be holding there. Or, you know, if you take, there might also be the move c3. Creating a passed c-pawn and cutting the queen on a5 off from the action. Alright, so Dennis takes on d5. We see all trades. And I guess Bluebaum is going to take on b3 and go for the move g6. Defending this pawn over here. And white doesn't really have a good way to hang on to this pawn on b3. So, again, I think it's very likely that we are headed for a 4 versus 3 endgame. You do not want to take on b3 right away because white will take here and take the pawn on a5 later. But g6 has just been played. And now white is probably going to take this pawn on a5 with either rook. You can try to hang on to the b3 pawn for now, but I think black's just going to go rook b5 followed by rook b8. And I guess you can sit with rook a3, but you don't really have a good follow-up from there. So I think Dennis is going to take, and we'll have a double rook endgame with 4 versus 3, which I think that Bluebaum should hold. But, you know, white can push for a long time. Okay, so rook takes b3 now, rook a7, Dennis aiming to double both rooks on a 7 rank. And I think a good move for Bluebaum here would be the move rook to b6. Because the thing is, you want to meet rook to d7 with the move rook f6. Because if you just sit here, let's say you go king g7, white's going to go here, and your rook is going to have to go passive with rook f8. Your rook on f6 is going to be a lot more active, as it's going to still apply pressure to this pawn on f2. So I expect Bluebaum to move either rook to the 6th rank, either rook b6 or rook to c6. Let's see which one he's going to go for. There we have it, rook c6. And let's see what Dennis is going to do. I mean, he can definitely push here, but it's not going to be easy. I mean, I expect black is going to go rook f6, then try to go rook b2, put some pressure on this pawn over here. So I guess at some point you're going to have to go rook d2 to make sure that black does not get that rook to the 2nd rank. But again, you cannot prevent black from putting the rook over here. And then I don't really see a good way to make progress. So let's see how Dennis is going to try here. And that is why he's taking his time in this position. All right, so Vidit crushed Aram with a nice tactic. Perhaps if we have the time, we can have a look at that game. Let's have a look around the horn. All right, so okay, so let's whereas Magnus is playing in the World Cup. This is the Speed Chess Championship. So rook to d2, rook b6 by Bluebaum. Bluebaum wants a trade of one pair of rooks because the 4 versus 3 endgame with one pair of rooks is pretty theoretical. Most grandmasters know how to hold that one, but I guess he's a little bit unsure about a 4 versus 3 endgame with two pairs of rooks on the board. So understandable decision by him. And I don't see a good way for Dennis to keep 2 pairs of rooks on the board. If you go Queen g2, there's going to be a rook b2. You can go here, I guess, but then you're just going very passive with both your rooks. He goes rook king g2. I expect rook b2 now by Bluebaum. And you don't really have anything much better than to trade the rooks. And again, white can try here, but against an experienced grandmaster like Bluebaum, I don't really see white winning here. So we see Dennis trading, black recaptures, king f3, king g7. For sure, Dennis is going to try, but it's probably going to be a draw. So e4, maybe now a check by Bluebaum. Dennis wants to go king f4 and f3. Or, you know, for now, okay, rook b3, king f4, rook back, f3. And generally what is a good defensive mechanism is to hang on to one of the pawns. And that's what Bluebaum does. So he goes rook to b3, making sure that this king cannot move, as it has to keep defending this pawn on f3. You can go for a move like g4, but black's going to take. I guess you recapture the king. And it's still very difficult to move from there. You can recapture with the f-pawn, then your pawns are split. So I think Bluebaum is going to hold this game 99% of the time. So let's see what Dennis is going to do here. Maybe you can try to go for e5, try to push e6. But in case of e5, you can give a check. So rook d7, I think now you just sit with the move rook a3. Let's see which one Bluebaum is going to go for. All right, he's taking his time here. I mean, I think just rook here and sit. You can also maybe move your king up. Also looks completely fine. So let's see what he is going to do. It doesn't really look like white has a nice way to make progress. Rook a3 has just been played. I guess Dennis is just going to move back and forth. Again, if you move this pawn, maybe there's a check. Or you move your king back. I think e5 e5 check, king g5, rook a3, e6, you take. He goes for g4, okay, now you take with black. The whole idea of the setup with putting the pawn on h5 is to make it difficult for white to push the pawns forward. Because we see as soon as white goes g4, black can take it. Okay, so we see a trade. I think now Bluebaum can probably just sit with rook b3, but he goes for rook a1. Also good move, he wants to go for rook g1, and whenever the king moves over, then he can go rook h1. So already, it's not that easy for Dennis to keep the game going. Let's say you go for a move like rook c7, black will check, king f4, rook h1, king here, you check again, and you might end up in some sort of perpetual. So e5 has been played by Dennis. I guess now might be a good time to check. The king moves over, and then rook h1 or rook e1, both should hold the game for black. Or, you know, rook e1 right away also looks completely fine. So even though Dennis is going to try here, this is not the most exciting game in the world. Let's have a look at another one. Let's have a look at the matchup between Deac and Rauf Mametov. White having a slight edge here. To be fair, you know, there's still play left in this position, but also not the most exciting game. But let's see if Deac can make something of it. Okay, people keep telling me that Vidit won a great game, so let's have a look at it real quick. So this started off as a Nimzo Indian with a quick e4 push. Okay, f5 is a bit of a sideline. Vidit having a slight edge here. Okay, so let's see where the action happens. Vidit sets up. Wow. Okay, if you take, there's queen c7 check, and you pick up the rook. So the king moved over, he took here. Now check, you take the rook. Black has got the 2 bishops for the rook, but the king is wide open. So Vidit moves, okay. Perhaps Vidit let it slip a little bit here. Aram seems to be doing well here, but okay, Aram in a good position. But apparently things went wrong at some point. It feels like black's doing pretty well. Oh, that's a bad blunder. Yeah, Aram got down to his last couple seconds and he hung a bishop. Tough. Alright, so Vidit won the first game. Let's get back to all of the live action. So let's have a look at this game between Deac and Rauf Mametov. So not a whole lot happening here. White having a very slight edge because this bishop is on the same color as all of these pawns. So White's bishop has a little bit more scope and White also has a little bit more space. But I do expect a draw here. I don't really see a meaningful way for White to make progress. We see him move c5. The knight jumps back to c7. Perhaps he wants to go here. Or Rauf might just move back and forth, as I really do not see a way for White to make progress. King e6. But you know, Deac is up in a match, so I'm sure he does not mind a draw. He goes knight f2. Perhaps he wants to go knight h1 to g3 to f5. But then there's still no plan. So Rauf moving back and forth. Deac, you know, moving his knight up. But even when the knight lands here, there's nothing you can do after that. Rauf can just sit with bishop c7. Making sure the White cannot go knight to d6. And I expect to draw here fairly soon. There we go. Alright, so Deac keeps his 1 point lead in the match. Let's see what else we have. Alright, so let's go back to this game is heating up. So Yu Yangyi might be taking a 2-0 lead here. He's up already 1 point in the match. And he's up 2 pawns. He's got these double H pawns, which can push down the board. Okay, and there we go. H4 has been played. And it's not easy to see what White's going to do against H3 and H2. And this queen can... Okay. What happens if you trade H3? Bishop G1, maybe Bishop E3? Bishop E3, Bishop H2 has to be played. Bishop F4 now. Bishop G1, H2. Take, B5, Bishop G1. And that's all she wrote. H2. Game over. Yu Yangyi is going to take a 2-0 lead. So... Alright, so I think we're the audio is good, right? Audio is good. If anyone can confirm that, that'd be great. But yeah, tough spot already for Vasquez. He's down 2-0 in the match. Yu Yangyi will only need 1.5 points out of the next 4 games to win and move on. Alright, so let's see what's happening. In the meantime, wait, what happened here? What happened here? Last time we checked in here, there was a we had a 4 versus 3 rooking game, but all of a sudden Dennis got a knight and Bluebaum just hung his rook. Let's look real quick how that happened. So Bluebaum defending well here. Okay, he perhaps got a little bit careless here. You have to make sure that White does not get in the move e6. I would say play a move like rook to e1. But okay, gave a check, this is still fine, but now you cannot stop White from going here anymore. He played rook here, now came e6, rook a6. And White's up 2 pawns. You might still be holding here, but look at this. Dennis, he played king e3, clever move. Now all of a sudden you cannot stop e8. He played rook a1, with the idea that if you queen, there's rook e1 and you pick up the knight. But Dennis, he knew you have to hold alt. He held alt, promoted to a knight, and so he went on to win this game. I mean, he's up a knight and a pawn here. And, of course, he knows how to convert this one. All right, so a tough loss here for Bluebaum. So let's have a look at some of the other games. Let's see what else we have. All right. Wait. Okay, right now I do not see the third games. Okay, and we are off. Okay, yeah, I thought it was on my end, but I think they just had to get ready. All right, so game number 3. So let's see what is going to happen here. Yu Yangyi having a 2-0 lead. He will only need 1.5 points. So let's see if he can get it done. All right, so that is what's happening here. Okay, so I think Yu Yangyi has got a pretty good chance to win this match. Let's check in this match. But okay, Vidit also having a 2-0 lead. Let's check in this match between Bluebaum and Dennis Lazavik. We have a pretty exciting opening here. This started off as an f3 Nimzo, d5 by Dennis Lazavik. He traded, and Bluebaum sacking a pawn here. The idea is that in case you take, there's queen g4 attacking the knight e4 and the pawn on g7. So e5 was played by Dennis, bishop to g4, queen e3. We see, and we have an interesting battle here. Black has got the slightly better pawn structure, but white has the bishop pair. But it's not that easy to utilize the bishop pair here, as the center is a little bit blocked. So let's see what Dennis is going to do. He goes for kingside castles. And now let's see what Bluebaum will do. I think if black has the chance to occupy some of these squares with knight f4, maybe close down the center a little bit, black is doing pretty well. So, but if the position opens up a little bit, that could be in Bluebaum's favor. So let's see how he will try to utilize the bishop pair here. All right, so yeah, just to recap real quick, Yu Yingyi has a 2-0 lead. Deoch has a 1.5 lead over Rav Mametov. This match is all tied, and Vidit has a 2-0 lead over Aram Hakobian. All right, so Bluebaum in the tank. Perhaps he can go for a move like queen to g5, trading off the queens. Which makes a lot of sense, because white's king over here, and there we go, queen g5, you're attacking the knight, so I think black pretty much has to trade. The thing is, white's king over here doesn't really have a safe place. Like, it's not 100% safe in the center, not really safe over here. It can no longer castle kingside. So I think it makes perfect sense for Bluebaum to trade off those queens. f6 by Dennis, solidifying the center a little bit. And now Bluebaum can slowly but surely start pushing up the board, like with moves like a5, maybe c5. c5 would open up the c4 square for his bishop. So I kind of like Bluebaum's position here. Let's see what Dennis will do. He goes king f7, bring the king to the middle. Now perhaps is a good time for Bluebaum to go a5 or c5. Queenside castles right now also looks completely fine. And we see the move c5 on the board. All right. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, so b6. Putting pressure on the pawn on c5. If black were to take and you recapture the c-pawn, then you have double isolated pawn. So I don't think that's what Bluebaum wants to allow. You can take, but then black gets the open a-file for the rook, and they're immediately putting pressure on the pawn on a4. So not an easy decision to make here for Bluebaum. He goes rook to b1, banking on the fact that in case you take, he then gets to move rook b7, putting pressure on the knight, and he could combine it with the potential bishop to h3, putting even more pressure on the knight. So not easy for Dennis. Perhaps he should delay taking over here, because the pawn on b6 is not really under attack. And I guess you can just move your king to the middle. He goes rook a to b8. Solid move, but the drawback is that in case you take and black recaptures, you no longer have that pressure on the a-pawn. So let's see what is going to happen. He takes. Black is probably going to recapture the a-pawn. You can also take with the rook. Try to take control over the b-file with a subsequent rook fb8. And in case you take and black recaptures, then you no longer have this rook over here, which can defend the a-pawn. So rook a8 is going to come in with quite a bit of effect. So let's see which one Dennis is going to go for. Both players around 1:30 on the clock. So this one is definitely heating up. And by the way, just to remind everybody, we have played 2 5+1 games. Now we are in the 3+1 portion. So it's only getting faster and faster. And after these 2 games, then we'll move into the 1+1 portion. All right. Okay, so rook takes b6 has been played. Let's see what Bluebaum is going to do. Bluebaum could actually play a move like king d2. Because in case you take, there's the move bishop c4 check. And you regain the rook on b1 right away. So let's see which one he's going to go for. Check right away also makes perfect sense. Followed by king d2. Because I think you want to delay trading over here. It would rectify black's pawn structure a little bit. And your own pawn on a4 would become a little bit weak. So let's see what he's going to go for. Bluebaum dropping below a minute. King d2 on the board. Again, if you take, there's check. And you regain the rook on b1. King e7 by Dennis. Now the bishop can also move here, putting pressure on the knight, or let's say the c4 or d3. So let's see which one Bluebaum is going to go for. He's got a good position here, but he's down 30 seconds on the clock. So let's see what he's going to do. All right, so Bluebaum in the tank here. He's got a move here. He cannot fall too far behind. Bishop h3, good move, putting pressure on the knight. I guess in case black goes here, maybe you can just take on d7 and take here as well. So rook fb8, very logical move. Again, black would be happy about this trade because it would improve their pawn structure a little bit. and they can put pressure on this pawn over here. So perhaps Bluebaum just has to protect the rook on b1. He takes on b6, and Dennis actually recaptures with the knight, attacking this pawn. The knight is ready to jump into c4, and look at Bluebaum's clock. He's down to his last 15 seconds. Not an easy position to keep control over when you're low on the clock. Rook a1 perhaps, but this knight jumps in, followed by rook b2, 6 seconds. He's got to move. He's got to move forward. He takes on e5. Okay, perhaps now check on c4. And you can also take this knight on e5. This looks pretty tricky with no time. Knight takes c5 now, attacking this. Knight d3 is a major threat. Bishop c5 check. Okay, you move the king over. Rook d1, stopping this. And in case it takes, there's rook d7. But now perhaps knight f4. These knights are very jumpy and difficult to control when you're low on time. So knight f4, Bluebaum will have to play bishop f1, stopping this fork on d3. Knight f4 on the board, bishop f1, only move. All right, now maybe knight e6, you can take here, or start a move like pawn a5. Okay, if you take rook a8, and you will regain that a4 pawn. Bishop d4, knight takes f3, also a move. He takes on a4, perhaps Bluebaum will have to trade. I feel like Dennis definitely having a slight edge here. The knight feels better than the bishop. These pawns are a little bit weak. Bishop h3, now the knight can jump in here. Although that will allow rook d7, so maybe knight c5. Making sure that white cannot jump in here. Bluebaum down to his last 2 seconds. He made the move with 1.2 seconds on the clock. He's got to be extremely careful here not to blunder. Knight g5, tricky move. Bishop g2, a little bit passive. Rook a7, Dennis perhaps going, oh, rook a2. Rook a2, and you hang the bishop. Tough loss for Bluebaum, who's now on tilt, pre-moving everything. But he's going to lose this game. There goes another pawn. c4, check. Okay, perhaps check over here. King e6. Dennis up a knight and 2 pawns. He's not going to throw this one away. King f5, rook takes c4. So Dennis is going to take a 2-1 lead. Bluebaum was better for quite a considerable part of the game, but he got too low on time. And it was just very difficult to keep control over the position with Dennis's tricky knights. And okay, Bluebaum getting some pawns back, but this e-pawn is going to decide the game. e3, king e4, and that's just going to be all she wrote. Just rook back or rook d1, king f3, e2, king e3, knight e4, and you get a new queen. The only thing Bluebaum can hope for here, although it's not a real hope, is a stalemate, but a player of Dennis's caliber is going to win this 100 out of 100 times. And the checkmate is coming in very soon. And there we have it. All right, so nice win for Dennis Lazavik, who takes a 2-1 lead in this match. Let's have a quick look at what happened in the other game. So Aram came back in the match. He won his game, closing Vidit's lead down to 1 point. The other games are still in progress. Let's have a look real quick. Yu Yangyi up 3-0. He only needs one more draw and he's going to win the match. So don't expect a comeback there from Vasquez. Then Dayach is up 2.5, 1.5. Quite a considerable lead as well. He will only need one more. He will need only one more win. And then we have... so yeah, just to recap the scores real quick right now. So Dayach is up 2.5 to half against Mametov. Dennis Lazavik has a 2-1 lead against Bluebaum. Vidit has a 2-1 lead against Aram Hakobian. And Yu Yangyi has a 3-0 lead against Vasquez. Alright, so let's have a look real quick at this matchup between Vidit and Aram. It's been a pretty exciting one. Vidit with the white pieces. And we see Aram taking some risks here. He goes for this very dodgy setup, keeping all of the pieces on the board. He realizes like, hey, I'm down in the match, I have to win sooner or later, so let me also try my luck with the black pieces. Vidit slowly but surely activating his pieces. Now, the difficult thing for black here is always that it's difficult to come up with a plan. Like, you put all of your pieces here, and white might be thinking like, hey, what do I actually do here? But the same thing applies to black. For black, it's even more difficult to do anything, because white is going to be better prepared for any action in the center because of all of that space. But Vidit goes for the move e5, knight e8. Perhaps now bishop g5, attacking the queen and the rook, so f6 is forced. You take, black recaptures, and this pawn on the e6 is a little bit tender. If you can go for a potential rook e1, move the bishop out of the way. Of course, you're going to have to be careful not to allow this, and force yourself to recapture with the g-pawn. But I think Vidit can be pretty satisfied here about the outcome of the opening. It feels like he's got a slight edge. Bishop e3, maybe now knight g7 for Aram, trying to swing that knight back into f5 to put some pressure on the bishop, and a pawn on d4. Alright, so let's see what he's going to do. Knight g7 to me makes perfect sense. But yeah, Vidit having a 1-point lead here in the match. So another win would put him extremely close to the next round. Knight g7, knight e4. Alright, now I guess knight f5. The thing though is that black is gonna have to give up that dark squared bishop. You don't really want to do that, because then all of the dark squares around your king are gonna be weak. You could also take on e4, but then white's gonna recapture, and white also there has the advantage of the bishop pair. So we have bishop takes e4, queen takes e4, knight f5 on the board, putting pressure on the bishop and the d4 pawn. Bishop f4 has just been played. And maybe now might not be a bad time for Aram to go c5, putting pressure on the d4 pawn and trying to open up that bishop on the long diagonal. Bishop h2 by Vidit, okay, that's possible, but the bishop is like not putting a whole lot of pressure on that pawn on d6 because it's still protected by the pawn on c7. Bishop g7 by Aram. Now let's see what Vidit is going to do here. Maybe a move like b4 followed by c5, although b4 would allow a5. He goes bishop to d3, knight f6 by Aram. I guess queen e2 here, just moving the queen back. And again, I think Vidit definitely has the edge here because of the bishop pair and this slight weakness on e6. So let's see how he will put this to work. Queen c6 also possible. Queen e2 is the move he eventually went for. And it's not that easy for Aram. Like, you have your pieces semi-active, but white's moves are going to be much easier. Rook e1 here, putting pressure on the pawn. g4 is always a move you're going to have to reckon with. Like, let's say rook e1. Rook e8, rook a8, there is the move g4, you're going to have to go back here, and then you can take, Vidit goes c5, he wants to blast open the diagonal for his dark squared bishop, but it does concede the d5 square for the black knight. However, he also opened up this diagonal, and he can now just take the pawn on a6, and why not? You know, if you take on a6, there is queen a4, but queen a4 is going to hang this pawn, so to me this looks like a free pawn, and Vidit takes it. As some of his fans like to say, greedy Vidit, he likes to take stuff. Alright, knight c7 can run into bishop c4, just defending this pawn over here. This one's looking pretty good for Vidit. He's up a pawn here, and I'm having a tough time seeing the compensation here for black. I think Yasser once told me that white has the extra pawn and the compensation. Bishop h6 has been played here, attacking the rook, bishop e5, attacking the queen, queen f7, rook a1, defending this pawn over here. Now maybe black should jump in with a move like knight f4 or bishop f4 to try to get the knight there, and that's what he goes for. I think a good move by Aram. If he can get the knight f4, he will always have some tricky ideas. So not that easy for Vidit to keep control over this position. You could go for a move like bishop c6. Rook e1 has just been played, taking the pawn on e6. So let's see what Aram is going to do. Perhaps he's going to take, followed by knight f4, although I guess there's just queen e4, taking the knight. Alright, so let's see, a trade on h2 has just happened, knight g7, jumping back and defending the pawn. A little bit passive, but sometimes you just have to do sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Alright, bishop c4, putting even more pressure on the knight and potentially this pawn over here. Knight f4 by Aram, attacking the queen. And again, you have to be a little bit careful. Queen e3. Okay, and let's see what he's going to do. Maybe d5 here. You can take, but white recaptures, and the knight is defended. And if you take here, white can take with the king. So no immediate tactics for Aram, who's getting down to his final 30 seconds. Let's see how he will try to complicate this one. If he loses, he's gonna look down he's gonna be very close to elimination. Although, no way, this is the loser's bracket, if I'm not mistaken. This is the loser's bracket. Queen f6, putting pressure on that d4 pawn. So let's see what Vidit is gonna do here. Maybe he can just expand over here on the queen side. He goes bishop b3, rook a8, bring that rook into the game. Now if Aram has the time, maybe he'll go for g5, then the knight can come to f5, also h5 to g4 is there. g5 by Aram, good move. Maybe rook c7 is what you have to go for, but I guess this knight could jump back here. It's not easy at all. Rook c7, queen h6, he wants to go for g4. Not easy here for Vidit. Knight f5, also an idea. Let's see what Vidit's going to do, and Vidit also down to 25 seconds. This game is getting slightly out of his control. Not easy. Vidit having 20 seconds on the clock here. He goes king g1, king h8 instantly by Aram. Knight h2, maybe knight f5. Taking the queen. There we go. Knight f5 on the board. Queen has got to move. You also want to keep protecting this one. Maybe queen d2, knight g4. Nice intermezzo. Taking black's queen on h6. Queen g6 perhaps. Let's see. You do not really want to go into the endgame. You want to keep the queens on the board and try your luck in the middle game. Queen g6, perhaps queen e4 here. Queen e2 by Vidit. good move. Maybe h5, knight h4, taking the pawn on g2, bishop c2, great move by Vidit, taking the queen. If the queen moves, you take this pawn on h7, perhaps you have to go back, and that's what Aram does. Okay, maybe move like d5 here by Vidit. He goes g3, sacking the pawn on h3, Aram takes it. Queen h5, defending the knight, maybe rook h1, or f3, just defending this knight over here. Queen d1, defending the knight. 5 seconds for Aram. What is he gonna do? 2, you gotta make a move here, you gotta move! Rook g1 with 0.1 seconds, rook h1, and he flags. Vidit taking a 3-1 lead. Wow, what a game. What a game, but Vidit wins this one, and is now very close to advancing to the next round. Let's see what happened in the other games. We see that Rodrigo Vasquez came back in the match, and this one is going to be won by Dennis Lazavik. He's up a bunch of material. Let's see what's going to happen here. Mametov is going to strike back in this matchup. He's going to win with black pieces, and he's going to close the edge, lead down to 1 point. And there we go. He's going to take a b3, and his a-pawn is just going to run down the board. So here it's 2.5, 1.5. Alright, so let's recap all of the action real quick. Dennis Lazavik has won his game as well. So Dennis Lazavik has a 3-1 lead. Dejac has a 2.5 to 1.5 lead over Mametov. Then we have Vidit, who has a 3-1 lead over Aram Hakobian. And Yu Yangyi has a 3-1 lead over Vasquez. So no matches have been decided yet. And we are going to move into the bullet portion with a time control of 1+1. Alright, just to remind everybody, Yu Yangyi and Vasquez and Dejac and Mametov, they are in the winner's bracket, so the losers of those matches will still have a chance. They'll move into the loser's bracket. However, for these matchups between Dennis Lazavik and Bluebaum and Vidit and Aram, they are really on their last life. If they lose, they're out. They're out. But there's still another qualifier starting tomorrow, so they will still have their chance. Okay, so here we have an English opening between Yu Yangyi and Vasquez. Okay, so this turned into a bit of a semi-tarrash with e3 and e6. Pretty symmetrical stuff so far. Let's see, okay, a3, okay, knight c6. You can also take over here, followed by b5. Knight c6 has just been played. So let's see what is going to happen. b4, good move. Bishop b2, castles. So let's see, h3 by Yu Yangyi. He's playing a bit of a waiting game. He wants black to take here, so his bishop can move into the game with tempo. Queen e7, sacking a pawn, but it looks risky to take. And Yu Yangyi does not accept the sacrifice. Bishop b2, rook to d8, moving the rook into the game. And perhaps if Vasquez can get the move d4 in, he's doing pretty well. So let's see how this one is going to develop. Things still looking pretty good in the match for Yu Yangyi. And you know what, let's have a look at this matchup between Mametov and Dejac. This is definitely our closest matchup. There's only a 1 point difference between the two players. So Dejac having the edge here, if he wins this game, it's actually the end of the match. But, you know, Rauf having a slight edge here. He's got the bishop pair. Also, he's having an attack against the black king. Black does not have a whole lot of pawns here. He's got 2. And his kingside has been carved out already. Rook a to d1. If Rauf has the time here, I'm sure he would love to go for h4, h5. And another idea is to potentially take over here and go for queen h4 to h6, as black no longer has that defensive resource with bishop f8. But fortunately for Dejac, he does have the defensive resource with knight to e6, putting pressure on the bishop and defending that g7 square. So queen h4, knight e6, the bishop is under attack. I suppose the bishop should move back, and there we go. I think in a bullet game, this is definitely to white's advantage. I mean, black will always have to be super careful not to get checkmated here. And Rauf also having the edge on the clock. 34 seconds against 15. Rook h4, queen g4. I mean, this is a little bit too much, but bishop g2. He wants to take here, and then here, not easy for black to deal with. I guess you take. Dejac down to his last 10 seconds. Bishop takes c4. Queen a4, good move, keeping the pin on the bishop. Queen f3, attacking some stuff over here. Let's see, 5 seconds. You gotta move. Bishop g5. Okay, he's hanging the pawn. Rauf takes a bishop d5. Good move, putting pressure on the knight. Maybe you take with the f pawn. There we go, putting full pressure along the f file. But rook f5, good find by Dejac. You go queen g2 or queen e2. Okay, takes. Queen e7. White having a very slight edge here. Queen e6, queen f3. Maybe king g2, maybe h4 at some point. Let's see if he's going to go for that. Rook d1. He wants to go in here, so maybe knight c5, rook d8. Here we can see a trade here. But Dejac, very, very long time. I think Rauf definitely has the edge here with the bishop. That's a little bit better than the knight. You actually have the possibility to do this. Black takes, you take here with check, but king h6. I don't think there's a follow-up. He takes on d8. Knight takes and queen f4. Great move. Queen d6. Okay, the endgame definitely a little bit better for white. King f3, f5. I don't know. I would be tempted to trade because white has a potential outside passer. Also, the bishop is better than the knight. Queen c5. Maybe you trade like this. Queen g5. Knight f7. Good move by Dej. Okay, he trades h5. Okay, we see a trade over here. This one is probably going to be a draw. Dej cannot be unhappy because then he's only a draw away from moving on into the loser's bracket. So Rauf's got to try here. Let's see what he's going to do. Queen b3, keeping the game going. But if anything, black is better here. Black is the only one having a passed pawn. So if he could push the one down the board, it's not going to be easy for white to deal with. But the players are moving back and forth. Let's see if Rauf will find a way to keep the game going. And there we have a repetition. So a 3-2 lead for Dej. Can he take this one home? He only needs a draw with the white pieces. And we see Rauf going all out with the modern defense, keeping all of the pieces on the board. He's getting pushed back with the move d5, but now he's got the nice c5 square for his knight. Bishop d3 by Dej, knight f6, and bishop g5. Dej grabbing a lot of space, but we saw earlier how Rauf managed to come back with the black pieces and narrowed the lead down to 1 point. Okay, so e5. We're having a King's-Indian structure here. Black can potentially go for the move knight h5 to f4. And, you know, even though white has a lot of space, it's never that easy to come up with a plan. So let's see what Dej is going to do. Queen d2 makes perfect sense to make sure that black can no longer go kingside castle, as that will hang the pawn on a... Wow! Did not see that one coming. The idea was that in case black takes, there's bishop takes c5, but queen e7 instantly by Rauf. He spotted that tactic. White can take on c5 and keep their extra pawn, but black will have some compensation due to the bishop on g7, which will then be unopposed. But hey, it is an extra pawn, and it is a central pawn, as a matter of fact. Knight h5, g5, I don't know. I'm not buying it. I think Dej, that's another pawn. He goes a3, making sure that black can no longer go a3 and open up that long diagonal. So let's see. I think Dej has got great chances here. Queen d8, okay. e5. Look at the center. I mean, I don't see it for Rauf, and Dej only needs to draw. He goes b5. Wow, I mean, what is his idea in case white takes? Really, either way, he takes with the knight. Okay, bishop d7 by Rauf. Perhaps he wants to take, but you can also move the knight back, or just go for queenside castles. Dej in a dominant position here, but he's down to his last 14 seconds. How is Rauf going to complicate here? He goes king f8. I mean, I understand he didn't want to go kingside castles because there's always queen d3, threatening checkmate over here, but this does not look good for black. This c5 pawn is going to drop. Black's position is in shambles. I mean, if you take here, the c7 pawn is going to drop. You can solidify the knight with d6. How is Rauf going to keep this game going here? He needs to win. He needs to win, not a draw. He needs to win this game. So he's going to need a miracle here. But with 13 seconds on the clock, anything can still happen here. But Rauf also getting low on time here. He goes king g8, takes rook c8. Dej could very well just grab another pawn. Let's see if he's going to do that. 6 seconds for Dej. He's got to move here. Rook h1. Okay, Rauf can take. Okay, bishop f8, queen e3. It's a pawn. At least it's one pawn. Knight g7, e6. This looks over. Bishop takes b5, cb. Okay, bishop d6 perhaps, keeping it close for now. All right, but takes knight e5. Dej blasting through. I mean, if you take... This knight is jumping into f7. You cannot stop a knight f7. Yeah, there we go. The rook is trapped. Black's got no counterplay here whatsoever. You're going to lose this rook. Takes. If you take queen d3, you cannot even take the knight. That will lead to checkmate 1. Bishop b5. Queen d8. Queen h7. Knight g6 or takes. This is completely winning for Dej. Knight g6. And there we go. Dej wins his game and moves to the final of the winner's bracket. All right, so let's see what's happening in the other matchups. All right, so this match comes to an end. Aram strikes back with the white pieces. So let's have a look. Aram strikes back. Here it's now 3-2 for Vidit. And but Vidit has just won the match. Vidit won the 6th game. So Vidit advances in the loser's bracket. He wins this match 4-2. All right, so we still have this matchup between Yu Yangyi and Vasquez. Yu Yangyi only needs to draw here. Wait, what a comeback from Vasquez. Vasquez was down 3-0, but all of a sudden it's 3-2, and he's got good chances in this game. He's up 2 pawns, but they've got the opposite color bishops, and wait, all of a sudden the computer was saying it's a draw. Knight f1 to here, here, and here, I guess. Knight e6. I guess white's up a couple pawns, but it's really the knight g7, wait, knight g7, and pick up this pawn over here. If Vasquez is going to win this game, we will move to an Armageddon. King of 3, slowly but surely improve the position. It looks very difficult though for white to make progress. How is he going to do it? Knight g4? What is the way here for white? Aha! You can go c4 at the right moment, and there we go. If you take the bishop, you hang h5. If you take the b pawn, then white can go b5. Okay, so knight check takes, but now the e4 pawn is going to drop. I feel like Yu Yang Yi should hold this one. King c6, but now knight e6, bishop b3. Okay, knight d6. Knight e6 on the board. Knight d8, knight d8, knight d8, and he drops the bishop. Oh, wait, but this is... b7. And Vasquez gets the win. It's 3-3. We're moving to Armageddon. What a comeback. What a comeback. I did not expect that one. I thought when Yu Yang Yi was up 3-0, he was gonna coast. He's gonna easily win his match. He only needed to draw, but Vasquez with a heroic comeback. All right, so let's see what's happening in the other matchups. All right, let's... I do not see the matchup between Bluebaum and Lazavik, but Deac wins his matchup 4-2 against Rauf Mametov. Then we have Vidit beating Aram Hakobian. So let's actually pull up the bracket real quick. Okay, so we see here that Yu Yang Yi and Vasquez are going to an Armageddon. Deac wins this game, so he moves to the final of the winner's bracket. Dennis Lazavik has won his match 4-1, and Vidit has won his match 4-2. So the winner of Yu Yang Yi against Vasquez is going to play Deac in the final. The winner of that matchup will move to the main event. And Dennis Lazavik is going to play Deac. And Vidit is going to play the loser of Yu Yang Yi against Vasquez. So we have some very exciting matchups here. But I guess we'll have to wait for this one between Yu Yang Yi and Vasquez to start. Both players will have to submit a bid. I don't know what the base time is. I guess it's 5 minutes. All right, so let's see. What is going to happen? All right, so yeah, well, we're moving into an Armageddon. I suppose white gets 5 minutes, and the loser gets whoever bids lower. But we're waiting on confirmation for that. Thanks to Chess Dojo Live for the way with 32. Big shout out to them. And actually, tomorrow their very own Kasia Kavutsky is hosting our second qualifier. All right, so let's see what is going to happen. We're waiting on confirmation. Again, both players will have to submit a bid, so I'm very curious to see what they are going to bid. I suppose you do not. I mean, let me think what a good bid is. I don't know how Yu Yang Yi is as a bullet player. I feel like Vasquez might have more experience without the increment. I think Vasquez might have more experience, so perhaps Yu Yang Yi should bid a little bit higher to try to get the white pieces and not get black in a time deficit. But yeah, curious to see what both players are gonna bid. So yeah, we'll see what's gonna happen. Again, we're going into this Armageddon. Very exciting stuff. I think nobody really saw this comeback happen, but Vasquez managed to pull it off. Very impressive. All right, and we're getting confirmation that indeed white does get 5 minutes, and the players are going to have to bid how much time they are willing to play with as black. Whoever bids lower does get the black pieces. I expect both players to bid around 4 minutes. You don't really want to go 3 minutes to 5. A 2-minute deficit is really a little bit too much, especially as you also have the black pieces and there's no increment. I think, 4 minutes, a 1-minute deficit is very manageable, especially with the pre-moving. You can always make up for that at the end. So let's see what they're going to do. Again, we'll have to wait for confirmation. All right, so Yu Yang Yi bid 4:30 and Vasquez beat 4 minutes. So Vasquez is going to have to play with the black pieces. Yu Yang Yi will have white in 5 minutes, but he has to win the game. So let's see what is going to happen. A very exciting matchup here. Yu Yang Yi, in my opinion, the better player, but Vasquez perhaps a little bit more experience, and we are off. Okay, e4 by white, c5. So let's see, knight f3, d6. The Sicilian opening, knight c3, a6 by Vasquez. I suppose he's aiming for the knight of... Oh. We're back. Bishop e3 by Yu Yang Yi. e5 here, standard move. e6 is possible as well. Knight g4. Vasquez already taking a little bit of time. a3. We saw Yu Yang Yi using this yesterday against Jospin. He won a nice game with the white pieces. h5 by Vasquez, stopping the move g4 altogether. I think Yu Yang Yi really cannot be unhappy about the opening he's got here. He's got all of the pieces on the board. He's got a Sicilian position. What more can you ask for in a must-win game? So bishop b2, knight bd7. Perhaps he will go for kingside castle. He goes f4. Very aggressive stuff here. Queen c7, bishop f3. Maybe now b5 for black, although never mind, b5 runs into e5. Maybe knight b6 followed by knight c4. Not easy to deal with that one. Attacking the bishop and his pawn on b2. And there we go, knight b6. Excellent move by Vasquez. Okay, e5 might be a move, but you sack a pawn. Maybe you go for something like, okay, queen d3, knight c4. And perhaps he just wants to go queenside castles. Give up the bishop pair. Or you can also go bishop to c1. He goes for queenside castles. Let's see, maybe, okay, still b5 runs into e5. You don't want to allow that. You can grab the bishop pair, but white can go for a very quick e5 push. And, you know, I don't think this bishop is really going anywhere just yet. So bishop d7, nice move by Vasquez. He wants to go rook to c8. But look at the clock. Yu Yang Yi has expanded his time advantage from 1 minute to 1.5. But rook c8, good move by Vasquez. He is now threatening to take here because if you recapture, the knight on c3 will hang. So let's see what Yu Yang Yi is going to do. He goes bishop f2. All right, is there takes, or is that gonna run into some knight d5 action? In case you take, there's takes, check, and you can take the knight on a3, even with your queen, because the knight on d4 guards this. So I think Vasquez is doing perfectly fine here, but look at the clock. He's down almost 2 minutes on the clock. Seems a little bit too much with no increment. So I think Yu Yang Yi has got excellent chance to win this game, but we cannot count out Vasquez. He's a very experienced blitz player. So let's see what he's gonna do. But he's really got to speed up here. Does he realize that there's no increment? He's taking all the time in the world. Okay, queen b6, threatening checkmate on 1. Knight b3 is not possible, as that hangs the bishop. You're gonna perhaps have to go b3. That does hang the pawn on a3, but the knight on a3 is a little bit stuck. I think Yu Yang Yi has to go for it. I mean, the alternative is b4, b3. You gotta take here. You gotta take, okay, and that's what Vasquez does. Maybe e5 now. Trying to blast open a position and take advantage of your lead in development. e5 on the board. Again, this looks tough with a 2-minute deficit. Vasquez getting down to 2 minutes. Again, he can make up with pre-moves and all of that. Knight g4. Okay, maybe you just eliminate the knight as your bishop on f2 is under attack. So takes. Perhaps you just take here, followed by 5. Not an easy position for Vasquez, who's down to 2 minutes. So Yu Yang Yi taking his time here. I think he should take. He goes bishop g1, keeping all the tension in the position. All right, queen a5. Stepping out of this discovery, putting pressure on the knight. I guess now king b2, defend this knight on c3. I like Vasquez's position, and if he can find a pace here, he definitely has a chance. But he's got to do that, because if not, the clock is going to cause him trouble. So let's see, pawn takes e5 might run into a move like knight c6, attacking the queen and this bishop over here. And if you take the knight, you can take with a check, and then there's queen d7 checkmate. So d5, nice move by Vasquez, and now he's ready to bring this bishop into the game. But what about this? Can Yu Yang Yi go knight takes d5, pawn takes an e6? I think that'd be an excellent way to complicate matters and create problems for Vasquez. And there we go, knight takes d5 on the board. If you take e6, that looks super tough for black to deal with in a blitz game. I don't know what Vasquez should do. He takes e6 instantly by Yu Yang Yi. If you take, there's a check over here. You can also take. Tough position for black to deal with. Perhaps Vasquez can make his way out of here with a perpetual or, you know, a checkmating attack. But if not, I think he's going to go down here. He takes an e6, check. That being said, black is probably doing okay. It's just the time that keeps worrying me. But, you know, Yu Yang Yi has to find something here. Queen g6, king d8. All right, so what about take? So if you take, black can take here. So let's say takes, takes, bishop b6 check. Looks like a nice way for Yu Yangyi to continue. Okay, knight takes c6, bishop takes is forced. Rook takes d5. Okay, if you take the bishop, there's bishop b6 check. You're gonna have to give up your queen, and it's a super double-edged position, and with 1 minute on the clock, I think you're very likely to lose that one. So very tough position here for Vasquez, and he's dropping down to his final minute on the clock. I don't see him holding this. Again, the position might be fine, but with less than a minute on the clock against 3, you're not gonna hold. He's got to move here. Maybe he's got to sack the queen, but then you can also throw in this. He does do it. Okay, queen takes d5. Maybe start with bishop b6, king d7. He takes on d5 right away. Okay, check. And maybe bishop b4 right after, threatening checkmate. Okay, king e1, maybe bishop b4. Bishop b4 is a nice try. I think he should go for it. And there we go. Vasquez has the chance to maybe get away with a perpetual. Bishop b4, bishop b6 check. King c8 only move. This runs the main one. Queen takes c6, king b8. 40 seconds still. Okay, check. You gotta take a check. Queen takes c6, king b8. 40 seconds is still a little bit of time. 40 seconds still a little bit of time. Queen takes 6, king b8. Okay, there we have it. Bishop d4. You gotta stop bishop c3. You're not worried about black taking, but maybe a rook d2? 34 seconds for Vasquez to figure out. He goes rook to c8. The evil board does not like that move. He is threatening to check. Oh no, but you can go king e2 and bishop b2. This does not pose a single threat. Maybe now queen b6, threatening checkmate over here. Queen b6 should be the match for Yu Yangyi. If you check, queen b6, and there we have it. If check, takes, king a2, check, bishop b2. And all of the threats are defended against. And white's threatening checkmate here. 24 seconds for Vasquez. I think he's just going down in flames. Takes, king a2, check, bishop b2, and that's going to be all she wrote. You're threatening checkmate over here, attacking the bishop. It's just all over. So tough match for Vasquez. He fought back brilliantly. He was down 3-0, came back to 3-3, and forces Armageddon. But it's not going to be enough. Yu Yangyi is going to win this Armageddon game. You can take it with a check, then pick up the bishop. And at this point, you know, Yu Yangyi does win his match. All right, so Yu Yangyi moves on in the winner's bracket. Let's pull this up real quick. Okay, so hopefully this will update real soon. But we see that Yu Yangyi wins in Armageddon against Vasquez, so he is going to play in the final against Dej. The winner of that matchup will qualify to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. But there are still players in the losers bracket who have a chance. Dennis Lazavik will face off against Rauf Mametov. And we also have Vidit facing off against Vasquez. All right, so we are going to be taking a very short break here. I'm going to catch my breath, you know, fill up your coffee cups, but we are going to be right back. You do not want to miss all of the action happening in the first qualifier to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. We will see you guys after the break. Welcome back, everyone, to the first qualifier to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. I'm your host, Grandmaster Benjamin Bach, and we are already in the final of the winner's bracket. So here we have this matchup between Yu Yangyi and Bogdan Deac. Yu Yangyi having a very slight edge here in game number 1. Just to remind everybody, we are starting off with 2 games of 5+1, and then 2 games of 3+1, and then 2 games of 1+1. The first player to reach 3.5 points wins the match. So let's have a look. So Yu Yangyi having the slide, having 2 bishops here. We have a symmetrical pawn structure, but perhaps what Deac can do is try to trade off the bishops with bishop to a6. So let's see how Yu Yangyi will try to deal with that. Maybe you can go for a move like queen f3. In case of bishop a6, then you can trade and take on h6. In case black takes, then the knight on f6 hanging, and that's the move he goes for. Knight e4, therefore, by Deac, rook fe1, putting pressure on the knight. So in case of bishop a6, now you can go up a pawn here. Black has got a chance to hold due to the opposite color bishops, but white is definitely the one pushing. So let's see what Deac is going to do. It doesn't look that easy to defend the knight because bishop f5 could run into bishop takes h6 as the bishop on f5 is hanging. So let's see what he is going to do. All right. Also, the bracket has been filled out, so let's showcase that real quick so everyone knows what's going on. So we see the final between Yu Yangyi and Bogdan Deac. The winner of that one moves on to the winner's bracket. Then we have the quarterfinals of the loser's bracket. We have Mametov against Lazavik, and we have Vasquez against Vidit. So those players still have a chance, but they still have to win a couple of matches. All right, so back to the chess. Okay, so bishop a6 was played by Deac. Okay, so takes. You can take on e4. I guess black might take and take on c3. But then there is rook c1, attacking the queen and pawn on c6. So let's see if Deac will take. I guess you could move to a square like a3. And then in case it takes, there is queen rook to c8. So black should be doing fine here. Also, again, there are the opposite color bishops. So let's see where he's gonna go. To me, queen a3 and queen b2 make a lot of sense. All right, so yeah, let's see what's going to happen in this one. All right, the other matches are also in full swing. They've just started their first game. Okay, but let's stay with this one. This is the final of the winner's bracket. Whoever wins this one, this is a live event. Yep. So whoever wins this one does qualify to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. All right, it's not related to this event, but Fabiana Caruana did lose. That's a little bit surprising. Okay, so queen a5 by Deac. Okay, bishop e5 has been played. Good move, I guess. If you get another move, you'd love to go queen g4, threatening a checkmate over here, which is certainly not easy to deal with because f6 runs into takes. If you go f6 now is a good time to take and attack the rook, because rook to c8 runs into queen e6. So not an easy position here for Deac. Perhaps you can go for a move like queen to d2, attacking the rook, but white can probably just take. So Yu Yangyi is certainly having some chances here. Let's see how Deac will try to hang on. Also, Yu Yangyi up 40 seconds on the clock. There is that 1 second increment, but you definitely have to be careful. You don't want to fall too far behind on the clock. So let's see what he's gonna do. He could also go queen to d8. Also makes a lot of sense. Let's see if he will go for that one, perhaps. So then you can meet queen g4 with either f6 or queen g5. Okay, Deac falling a minute behind on the clock. He goes queen d2, attacking the rook. All right, so in case white takes, there is the move bishop e7, there's queen g4. So what you could do is after takes, you could go queen e1 check, king h2, and then go bishop e7. Now queen g4, you can just trade. But there is the move queen to c2, so that in case you trade, you can recapture and the rook is no longer hanging. I'm wondering whether there is a move like queen to f1, because the rook there is still pinned, as if the rook moves, there's checkmate over here. But perhaps white still has a move there. I don't know. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, I'm looking at this funny line. So in case of rook takes c6, there's check, king here, bishop e7, queen c2, queen f1. What about rook g6? In case you take, there's queen b3 check. The king can move over, takes, and there's rook g8. But after takes, white's got pretty good compensation. You have the pressure on g7, and you have these two passers. So, I don't know, could happen, but rook c5 has just been played. This pawn is still under attack. Maybe bishop b5. Bishop b5 is not a move, by the way, because you take, and the rook on a8 is hanging. So let's see what DH is going to do. Perhaps Yu Yingyi wants to take with the queen over here. Bishop b7 is a move for now, but again, there's queen g4. And you can combine it with queen to d7. You can check over here, but after king h2, white definitely is the one having all the fun. Because after bishop b7, you can still go for these like rook c3 to g3. So not an easy position at all for DH, who is going down to his final minute. Let's see what he's going to come up with. DH is going to have to speed up here a little bit. Otherwise, the combined pressure on the board and on the clock is going to be a little bit too much. So let's see what he's going to do. Alright, so let's see which move he is gonna come up with. Alright, Bogdan, he's got a move here. He's getting down to 40 seconds. He's falling a minute behind the clock here. Let's see what he's gonna do. Okay, keep spending time. Right, at some point he's gonna have to move here. For those of you wondering, Title Tuesday starts in 43 minutes. He goes for rook f8. Aha. So his idea is that he wants to meet queen g4 with f6. Because now the pawn on f6 is defended. You can also take on c6, attacking that bishop. But then I guess you can just take over here and defend the bishop over on c6. Alright, so let's see what's going to happen. Yu Yangyi definitely having the initiative here. But, you know, there is quite a big drawing tendency. This is the first qualifier to the Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. Okay, so queen takes c6 is taking the bishop on a6. DH takes on a2 and defends the bishop over here. Maybe now queen d7 attacking this and threatening to go queen g4 perhaps is an idea. Let's see if that is what Yu Yangyi is going to go for. Alright, he's taking his time. He's taking his time. Let's see what he's going to do. Alright, so, okay, queen e4 also makes a lot of sense. He still wants to go queen g4, queen d2 by DH. Okay, so white having a slight initiative. He also has the lead on the clock. Let's see if he can apply some real pressure here on DH. Queen g4 has been played. I guess queen g5. And there we have it. You can trade on rook c7, but I guess black can hang on with rook a8. So let's see how Yu Yingyi will try to continue here. So, okay, queen f3 has been played. Perhaps rook c8 to trade off the rooks. f6 is not a move. By the way, bishop d6 is a threat, taking the rook and the queen. So therefore, rook c8, 4 seconds for DH. He goes queen d2. Okay, down to his last 4 seconds. Maybe rook c7, taking this pawn over here. Tough position for DH. Tough position. He goes rook c7, taking the pawn. Bishop d3. Maybe queen g3 here. He goes h4. Taking away that g5 square. And DH just flags. Wow. I mean, white was certainly better, but it seems a little bit unnecessary to just lose on time there. So now let's see how DH will try to strike back. He opens up with 1e4, and we see Yu Yangyi defending himself with the Sicilian defense. We see the Rosalind from DH. d6, castles, bishop to d7. There's a lot of options here. Rook e1 is a move, c3. a6, let's see where he's going to go. You can take, you can go bishop f1. Let's see which one DH is going to go for. Alright, bishop f1, knight f6 is the move here, or bishop g4 right away. Alright, so let's see what he's going to do. c3, aiming to build a big center with d4, e6 by Yu Yingyi. Alright, so maybe h3 here. I guess you can move the bishop back. You can also go d4. Okay, takes on f3. He's conceding the bishop pair, and he goes knight f6. So white has the two bishops, but it's not that easy to put them to work. d3, bishop e7, bishop e3, d5. Okay, knight e2 is a move, but perhaps there is the move d4. So let's see what DH is going to do here. I suppose you just continue your development. You're not too worried about the move d4. I guess you just move your bishop over. But it feels like black should be doing all right here. Black can also just go ahead and castle. And I assume that that is what he's going to do. I mean, he can still go d4 at a later stage. And he's not revealing his cards just yet. So let's see what Yu Yangyi is going to play here. Who has a 1-0 lead in the match. Let's also, by the way, have a look at what's happening in the losers bracket. Vasquez won his first game there. And here we have the first game between Ralph Mametov and Denis Lazavik, which should reach its conclusion pretty soon. Denis Lazavik pushing for a win. He's up a pawn, but Ralph should hold with the right defense. 91, King G2. That should make it a little bit easier for him. Also, if you ever give up, let's say, your knight for this G-pawn, it should be a pretty easy draw. He goes 91. But here, I really do not see a way to make progress. Knight C2 to E3. 93 here. And yeah, this is just going to be a draw. You just go bishop D2 here and here. Just any move draws here, but the easiest is just to give up your bishop for the pawn. But sitting is also perfectly fine. All right, so this first game ends in a draw between Ralph Mametov and Denis Lazavik. Again, Vasquez does have a 1-0 lead over Vidit. But let's go back to our matchup in the winner's bracket. Okay, so again, Yu Yangyi having a 1-0 lead. He's got a pretty fine position here because this bishop on f1 is a little bit passive. Also, the pawn on e5 is a little bit weak. Maybe just b5. The knight can jump into d6, but after or rook c7, also perfectly fine. His idea is that in case white goes knight d6, you then can take to dislodge the knight on d6. In case you take, you then take the knight on d6. So rook c1 by a DH, bringing his rook into the game. All right, so b5 here, knight d6 you take. Looks pretty fine for Yu Yangyi. You might have to jump back to this passive square. And I'm wondering, is there a tactic for Yu Yangyi? b5, knight d2. What if you take? Because if you take back. If you take the knight, the rook on c1 is hanging. And if you take the rook first, black can take, and the knight on e5 is protected. So let's see if Yu Yangyi will go for that. If he wins this game, there would be a big step towards the main event. So is he gonna find it? He's got the time. He's got 3.5 minutes on his clock. So let's see. I'm sure he's looking at this move b5, as now knight d6 no longer comes with a tempo. You can go rook c8, but then knight d6 does come with a tempo, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I think this move is certainly on his radar. Knight a5 could perhaps also run into knight takes e5, because if you take, you recapture, and black remains up a pawn. So let's see if that is what he will go for. Let's see. He's down a minute now on the clock, but if he finds the right sequence here, the time would be well invested. He goes rook c8. Okay, not a big fan of that one, because again, now knight d6 will always come with a tempo. His idea might be perhaps to go for a move like knight a5 and utilize that pin along the c-file, knight d6 by DH. Okay, now your rook will probably have to move over here to defend the pawn. And you know, after f4, that pawn on e5 is nicely defended, and DH certainly has something to work with here. Black is a little bit tied up here with these knights and the rook on c7. So let's see, because knight takes e5 currently is a threat. So f4, excellent move by DH. All right, so let's see what Yu Yangyi is going to do. He could go knight b6 to d5 to jump into e3, but DH can go for moves like bishop e2 to f3 or bishop h5, putting some pressure here. You can also go f6 with black to try to undermine this pawn on e5. So let's see which one he will go for. Magnus and Pragnananda, that first game did end in a draw, yes. So there will be another classical game tomorrow, and if it ends in 1-1, they will play in they'll play a tiebreak. All right. Okay, so let's see what is going to happen. Yu Yangyi taking a lot of time here. He goes g6 to discourage white from playing f5. Okay, makes sense, but I think now is a good time for DH to bring that bishop back into the game with bishop e2 to bishop f3 to put some pressure on this knight on c6. Because right now this bishop on f1 is not doing anything. So to me, it makes perfect sense. Let's see if he's going to go for it. And he also has an edge on the clock. So he's got real chances here for a comeback. Okay, so let's see what he's going to do. All right, so DH also taking his time. He's still almost up a minute on the clock. Again, to me, this makes perfect sense. Because, I mean, you can double up your rooks, but it doesn't do anything because this knight is still in the way. So if you want to put real pressure on the knight, you got to move this bishop in. A3 also a possibility, but it stops a potential knight b4 jump. So let's see what he's going to do. DH just got to keep moving here. He was up like a minute and a half. Now his time advantage time advantage is dwindling. So let's see what he's gonna play. I think he still has the edge here, but the edge on the clock is almost gone. So let's see if he's gonna come back. In a match, generally you want to try to strike back as quickly as possible. You do not want to stay in the danger zone, because if you remain down a point, all of a sudden you might be down 2, and before you know it, the match might be over. So you want to strike back as quickly as possible, especially if you have the white pieces. But now he's even down on the time. Let's see what he's going to do. I mean, again, to me, bishop e2 to f3 makes perfect sense. Putting pressure on the knight. Knight e4, okay. He's discouraging black from moving this knight, as that would run into knight f6. And now he goes a3, stopping this knight from jumping. So let's see what Yu Young-yi is going to do. Maybe he can try to trade off one pair of rooks, so he can potentially infiltrate with his rook to c2. White certainly having the easier moves here. If white gets a couple moves, I think this is still very much on the table. Bishop e2 to f3. We have knight d8 by Yu Young-yi, offering the trade of rooks. I think you should trade. Moving the rook looks a little bit passive, so I expect the edge to trade, and then maybe go for a move like queen f2, attacking that pawn on d4, which is cut off from black's pawn chain. I guess you can jump the knight back, but then I guess after rook c1, white still has that pressure along the c-file. So, nice position for the edge, but he's down a little bit on the clock. He's got to find that pace, because we saw in the last game, he was holding, but he lost on time, so he cannot afford to get too low on time again. So queen f2, taking that pawn over here. I expect knight c6 now. Let's see whether Yu Young-yi is going to go for it, and there we go. Alright, so perhaps now rook to c1, putting that pressure along the c-file. If you're feeling aggressive, you can also go for moves like g4, bishop g2, maybe knight g5 and queen h4. Let's see if they're just going to go for that, or if you will just play a move like rook to c1. But now he's getting down to his final minute. He's got to keep going. He's got to keep going. Okay, goes g4. Okay, wow. Expanding on the king side. f5 for now is out of the question, but this bishop can come to g2, and potentially f5 is certainly an idea. Okay, so let's see what Yu Young-yi is going to do. He's got a slight edge on the clock, king g7. Okay, bishop g2 now, I guess, bring the bishop into the game, although that could run into knight c5, because then the d3 pawn would be under attack, and knight f6 no longer comes with a check. h4, wow, they're going all out, pushing all the pawns up the board. I mean, I don't think you have to be too concerned about the move h5 just yet. It doesn't really seem to do too much. Although, you know, if you combine it with queen h2, this pawn is going to get here. Maybe knight c5 still is a move for Yu Young-yi, although this knight can jump into either f6 or d6. So white certainly having some pressure here. Let's see what Yu Young-yi is going to do. He can also expand over here, although I don't see what it does too much. Okay, he goes h6. Maybe b4 by the edge, stopping the move knight c5 altogether. Although it does weaken the queen side a little bit. Yu Young-yi could go for a move like knight e7 to b5, and it would also open up the c-file for his rook. The edge down to his last 35 seconds. He's got to find the pace here. He's got to find the pace. He cannot afford to keep spending like 10, 15, 20 seconds per move, because then he's going to be in time pressure in the next couple of moves. He goes bishop to g2, but this does allow the move knight c5 by Yu Young-yi. I think that's a nice break for black. To trade us some pieces, there we go, knight c5, good move. After the trade, your knight can jump back to e7 to help a little bit in the defense, and then you can try to infiltrate through the c-file. The edge getting down to his last 24 seconds. Let's see what he's going to do. I think he's got to trade. This pawn on d3 is under attack. You can also let black trade with a move like queen g3, but he's got to move here. He's got to move for 15 seconds. He settles on queen g3. We see a trade. All right, so let's see what Yu Young-yi is going to do. I think Dech still has a nice position. He can go for a move like f5 now, as that would threaten f4. Okay, king f8. Okay, he wants to walk his king out of the danger zone. Maybe you just go here, h5 by Dech. Okay, take perhaps. And then, what about this move f5? In case it takes, your rook can swing over to g7, and then, hey, who is attacking who over there? But 10 seconds for Dech, 20 for Yu Young-yi, f5. I like the move. Let's see if Yu Young-yi is going to go for it. He goes rook c8. This does give Dech time to go for king h2, followed by rook g1. King e8, king h3, king d7. Okay, maybe queen g7, and there we go. Tough position for Yu Young-yi. Can he hold on here? Can he hold on queen f8? This pawn was under attack. Maybe now just rook g1, queen f6. Queen e7 hangs this pawn. You got to make a move here, but it's not obvious to find one. I mean, white just wants to go here and here. Knight d8. Okay, rook g1 perhaps. There we go. There's rook c2. But I guess white can go here, f5. Nice move by Dash, blasting open the center and the king side. Ah, you gotta move queen e7. Okay, takes the pawn. Okay, take. And now you're not really attacking anything. All right, but there we go. Dash wins game number 2. He wins on time. Both players, they have to find the speed. You cannot lose on time. You cannot throw away points like that. Yu Yangyi was completely fine after someone like takes and king d6, followed by king e5. So very unfortunate loss. We saw Dayak losing game number 1 on time. Yu Yangyi loses game number 2, so we're all tied. All right, so let's see what's going to happen. In the meantime, Denis Lazavik and Rauf Mametov are still duking it out in game number 2. Rauf, I mean, I was going to say he has a slight edge, but it's really anyone's game here. This king is wide open, f6. Okay, you cannot take because of rook f3. All right, so that is this game. Then we also have the game between Vidit. Vidit just won game number 2, so that match is all tied up. So let's see. Queen d1 by Rauf. I guess you move the king or maybe block the rook. Let's block the rook. Yeah, queen d4 or queen d7 also move. Very tricky game here. Queen d4. I guess you just go back. White is not unhappy with the draw. Queen g7 again, big threat. So you can't move the queen over. Rauf might just take the draw. Let's see what's going to happen. Again, takes, runs the rook here. You can go here, but there's a check over here. Very up and down game. King e8, okay. Dennis down to his last 5 seconds. Which move is he going to come with? Queen f2? Okay, but knight e4, taking the queen. King f7 back by Rauf. Queen g3, and I think you can just take. The rook is even pinned, so take the pawn. That's an important pawn to take. King e8, okay. They're moving back and forth. Knight e4, though. Rauf, definitely nervous here. He must sense that this game is within his reach. Queen f4, check. Check. King up, check. You can give up. You can pick up all of the pawns with check. Check. And take this one as well. Take. And now you can zigzag your way back. But okay, you can move your queen back, but then you have to find a way to make progress, which is going to be the difficult part for Rauf. So okay, you can check. Or maybe keep the queen here. So are you going to go for a move like queen b7? Okay, check. They go back and forth. This knight is under attack. It cannot really move. Rauf down to his last 8 seconds. What is he going to come up with? Queen d2, king g1. Okay. You gotta move here. Gotta move. 2 seconds. You gotta move. Gotta move. Okay, made a move with 0.8 seconds. Queen c2. Okay, check. Check. King g1. Check. Okay. But I was just gonna say, he has to be careful as he could run into a threefold. And there we go. He could have kept the game going here with the move bishop e7, defending the knight, but it's never easy with just a couple seconds on the clock. And you have to spot that after check, you can block with the bishop. And this check doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot. But again, good luck figuring this out with just 5 seconds on your clock. Like it looks, no, that's not a move, but yeah, I mean, we can't really blame Rauf too much here because you end up losing the bishop here, and who's going to know that you're actually better here? Anyway, let's keep going. Let's go to game number 3. We're now moving into the 3+1 portion. So just to recap all of the action real quick, I think all of the matches are tied. Rauf Mametov and Denis Lazavik, they've made 2 draws. Vidit and Vasquez have exchanged wins, and so have Yu Yangyi and Dayak. So we're now in game number 3. Just to remind, everyone, whoever wins this match qualifies to the Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. All right, so 95, all pretty theoretical stuff. Black is attacking this pawn over here, bishop g2. a6 is the main move here, attacking the knight. And white can go for a move like queen a4, pinning the a-pawn so that then you can take over here. And that's what Yu Yangyi does. So let's see what black's going to do. Bishop c5 is a move. Taking this pawn over here, you can also move your rook to impin the a-pawn. And that's what Dayak goes for, knight a3. Black can take here, and you can take either with the b-pawn or with the queen and then take here. But you can also just go for development with moves like bishop e7 followed by castles. And you'll get some sort of Moroxi bind, but the knight on a3 is a little bit misplaced. So I feel like either way Dayak should be doing okay. So let's see which move he's going to go for. But yeah, the players will have to speed up. They cannot just lose games on time like that. We see bishop to c5, attacking the pawn on f2. So castles. I suppose Dayak will castle as well. Maybe now move like rook b1. You want to go b4 and c5, expanding on the queen side. So let's see what he is going to do. All right. Okay, so Yu and Yi taking his time. To me, rook b1 makes a lot of sense, and there we go. Okay, b4 is kind of a positional threat if you could combine it with c5. So I guess maybe you go bishop e7, and then meet b4 with d6. The first game between Magnus and Pragnananda ended in a draw. So still all to play for. All right, so let's see what is gonna happen here. Okay, rook b1. I guess you just move your bishop back. Okay, so let's see what he's gonna do. Okay, so we have the move queen to b4, offering the trade of queens, makes perfect sense. White is not forced to take at all, because the knight on a4 is defended. You can move out your bishop over here and put some pressure on the knight. I guess then black is gonna go here. I'm starting to like Yu Young Yi's position a little bit. You can also trade and go knight c2, but I guess then black can take on c4. He goes queen b3, alright. I mean, black can take now and give you double pawns. It's not terrible, but I feel like it's slightly detrimental to white's pawn structure. d6 by Deach also looks perfectly fine. So let's see what Yu Young Yi is going to do. He's got a slight edge on the clock, and we've seen in this match how important the time is. I think, you know, if you can keep the edge on the clock and you can keep the pressure on the position, whoever's going to do that is going to have a good chance to win this match. But let's have a look. Yu Young Yi, right now up a minute. He goes to bishop g5, putting pressure on the knight. I don't think you have to be too worried about white taking, as they'll give you the bishop pair. Some of the top players have been invited. Players such as Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, all of those are already in the main event. So b5 by Deach, threatening a fork here with b4. White can take, and I wonder what he has in mind there. I guess bishop a6, attacking the knight, putting some pressure on the pawn on e2, and on the b3 pawn. So let's see what Yu Young Yi is going to do. He could also take and go for knight e4, putting pressure on the bishop and the pawn on the f6. Let's see what he's going to do, but I think he has to try to keep the edge on the clock. So let's see how he will try to do it. How many players qualify for the main event? 4 players will qualify to the main event, and we have 2 qualifiers, so 2 players per qualifier. All right, so bishop takes f6, pawn takes, knight e4, putting pressure on the bishop and the pawn on f6. Let's see, maybe you just go f5, and in case it takes, you recapture. Looks pretty fine. It takes on a3, okay, takes. Okay, it takes on c4. I guess you can take. You can also go for a move like f4. I like f4. You attack the knight, and then you take here, so that black cannot recapture with their knight. All right, so f4 on the board, attacking the knight jumps here, I suppose, then you take. And I guess white should have a slight edge there. Black has a bunch of weaknesses. This pawn is hanging, so not easy for black to deal with. All right, but let's see what Deach is going to do. His knight is under attack. I think he's going to lose a pawn here. And look at the clock. He's down to his last 34 seconds. He's really got to try to watch out, because we've already seen 2 players lose on time. And with the 1 second increment, it's also very easy to blunder. So he's really got to find a pace here. So let's see what he's going to do. He's got to move here. He goes knight g4. Okay, takes on c4. I guess we'll see a rook trade. But then what? This is under attack. I guess you can take a rook d8, but then rook b8 looks unpleasant. Or h3. He goes d5. Okay, good move. He's going to have a weakened pawn structure here, but at least he's not losing a pawn for now. Okay, so takes. I guess you move the knight somewhere, maybe here. So you can take over the bishop. Knight c5, also good move. Maybe now knight e3, defending this pawn over here and putting some pressure on the bishop. White definitely having the edge, here. I guess you can check, you can also trade. But they just got to move here. d4. Okay. All right, let's see what Yu Young Yi is going to do. Maybe bishop f3 or bishop e4. Both look fine. Let's see which one he's going to play. Bishop b4. Yu Young Yi keeping the pace. 4 seconds for Deach. a5, okay. Rook b5. Bishop d3. Okay, bishop g4. I think you got to try to go after this pawn. You just have to be careful that black's rook doesn't come in, because if the black rook does flank on the first rank, then you all of a sudden have checkmating it is. But I think you can just take this pawn over here. And now you can trade, you can push. Yu Young-yi has got excellent chances to take the lead in the match again. Okay, so let's see what he's going to do. He can trade, maybe then go rook a4. Lots of good options. Let's see what he's going to go for. I think it makes a lot of sense to just push this pawn. Very straight. Okay, the edge move with 1.8 seconds. Rook b5, h3, f5. Okay, or rook b5. Perhaps rook b5, I guess maybe here. Okay, just move the rook and push the pawn. Looks pretty straightforward to me. Yu Young-yi also getting low on time here. King e1 played. I guess he wants to go here, but he doesn't want to allow this and this. Rook b5. King d2, okay. Not a big fan of what he's done. Now this king is coming in, and the knight has to move, and then the rook can join the action. Okay, knight b7, king. Okay, rook a6, tricky move. Knight d6. Knight d6, forking the rook in the pawn. Knight f1, king e1. King e1, rook g1 check. King f2. Knight e3, and takes. There's knight e3. Wait, g4, okay, take f5 maybe. Okay, takes, take. Play with 0.7 seconds. Yu Young-yi's gotta move here. Knight b5, knight b5. No, you gotta move! You gotta move! What? He played with... What is happening? He made that move with 0.0 seconds? How is that possible? The clock showed 1.0. Okay, he still has an edge. He's up a pawn. But he hangs a rook. What is going on here? What a game. Yu Young-yi completely loses the threat. And so it's going to be Deach who takes a 2-1 lead. Wow, what a game. What a game. But let's go back. I just want to see what happened. Right. Okay, well, let's see if we can. Let's pull that up real quick. Wait, let's pull that up real quick. It was right around here. How does he have 1.0 seconds on his clock? Like, I don't understand. Aren't you supposed to lose on time? And then here, he had 0.7. Like, how does that happen? Yeah. Anyway, but even though he avoided losing on time, he did end up losing on the board because right around here, white is better. But he played king f2, hanging the pawn on f4. And not only do you hang the pawn, you also hang the rook. So very tough loss for Yu Young-yi. And Deach takes the lead. All right, so in the meantime, let's see what's happening in the other matchups. Okay, well, let's just keep going. Let's go to the next game between Yu Young-yi and Deach. Deach is now very close to qualifying for the main event. So let's catch our breath and let's get back to the action. All right, so here we have a Ragozin. White having a slightly better pawn structure as the pawn on d5 is isolated, but black has got the two bishops. So, so perhaps he's lagging a little bit, yeah? Perhaps he's lagging a little bit. Okay, so takes on c3. Maybe take the queen. I like this position for Deach. He's up in the match. He's got a pretty risk-free position. And it looks like he's a little bit better. So I think you cannot really ask for much more in this situation. Okay, so bishop d7. Yu Young-yi would love to follow with rook c8 or knight c6. But the question is rook c8 actually a threat? Like, let's say you go bishop b5. Are you actually going to go rook c8? Because you can take everything. And you have a rook and a bishop for the queen. And black is completely tied up here on the final rank. So I think that would be a nice idea for Deach. You can also go bishop d3 to make sure that rook c8 is not a move at all, because after it takes, it's actually checkmate, as you deprive the black king of the h7 square. But then black can go knight c6. So bishop b5 would prevent this move. So let's see what Deach is going to do. He's taking a lot of time. Bishop b5 has been played. All right, so I guess you can take, but you'll recapture. And in case it takes, maybe you take with the knight. And I don't see how you can keep defending this pawn. Rook d8, you go rook d1. To me, this really looks like a dream position for Deach, given the fact that he's up a point in the match. Like, if this game ends in a draw, he keeps his lead. If he wins, that's even better. But for Yu Young-yi, Not a fun position to defend, especially if he's down. So let's see what he's going to do. Again, now, in case you go 96, white can just take. So let's see what Yu Young-yi is going to play here. Again, takes, takes. I think you take with the knight. Queen g6. Tricky move. Taking this pawn on g2, but now I think you're in good shape to castle. Okay, castles, the g2 pawn is defended. So let's see. I think in case of rook c8, white is happy to give the queen for the two rooks. The two rooks certainly look stronger here. So I think Dejak's got a nice position. His pawn on d5 is weak. He's got control over the only open file on the board. He can go for moves like queen b4, queen b3, asking some annoying questions. And it's not going to be easy for Yu Young-yi to hold on here. So let's see how he will try to do so. But again, the most important thing is that both players will keep a good pace on the clock. We saw that Yu Young-yi had the edge there in the last game, but he got too low on time himself, and everything went wrong all of a sudden. Rook ab8. Okay, I guess you got to keep moving. Maybe move like h3, making sure you can never get back rank checkmated. So let's see what he's going to do. All right, in the meantime... Oh, no, wait, that was the other game. Let's see if we can have a look at the bracket. Yeah, so let's have a look real quick at the standings in the bracket. So as you guys can see here, Ralph Mametov and Dennis Lazavik are all tied. They're 1.5, 1.5. And Vidit has a 2-1 lead over Vasquez. And in the meantime, Dejak has that 2-1 lead over Yu Young-yi. Again, if you reach 3.5 points, you win the match. So Dejak is pretty close to winning this one. But as I said, he's getting down to his last 24 seconds. Right, so he trades off the queens. And there we have rook fc8 by Yu Young-yi. Yu Young-yi should be doing fine here. I think a nice move here is the move h5, because now white goes g4. If you go h5 here, you fix that pawn on g3. But now white's pawn structure is a little bit more flexible. This knight can always jump to f5. You no longer really want to go g6, as white can go king f2 and rook h1. So he goes h5, trading off the pawns. But now again, it's Dejak with a very, very slight edge. So let's see how he's going to try to put some pressure on Yu Young-yi. g6, good move. He wants to move his king into the middle and not be bothered by the move at knight f5. King d2. I think you just move your king into the center as well. And I wonder what Dejak is going to do. He trades off one pair of rooks, offers the trade of another one. But this should objectively just be a draw. So takes takes. But again, a draw is not a bad result for Dejak. He's up in a match, so every draw is fine with him. It just brings him closer and closer to qualifying to the main event. Knight d7. So let's see what he's going to do. Okay, g5, fixing the pawns. f6. Okay, Yu Young-yi wants to trade off some pawns. Maybe g5 here. g5 looks like a nice move, and there we have it, because in case it takes, you have knight e4, and you take the pawn. This is objectively a draw. Really not much happening, but Dejak down to his last 6 seconds. I don't really think anything is going to happen, but you never know. I think Yu Young-yi has got to try here. He's got to try to make something happen. Maybe knight e6 to c5. Maybe push with this pawn a little bit before. I don't know if you go b5 yourself. It looks pretty dead. It looks pretty dead to me. But again, if you can, you should try something. Knight d8. He's headed here. a3. Maybe knight f7 to d6 to c4. That at least asks some questions for Dejak. And hey, with only 2.5 seconds on the clock, you got to move. e4 with 0.8 seconds. I think it's a nice move, though, because in case of d4, there's knight e2. And this allows him to simplify the position even more. Takes, takes. King d5 now. Knight c5 is the threat. King c6. I think it's too simplified. It's too simplified for Yu Young-yi to make anything happen here. Dejak, he just has to accumulate a little bit of time on the clock, and then he should be just drawing this game. Okay, check. You know, just throw in a check, just try. Okay. Of course, Dejak can always flag, but it's unlikely. But with the knight on the board, there's always still the potential for a blunder. Okay, yeah, but now he's trading off the last set of pawns. b5, you take. So he's just going to take, and now knight a2. Or there, and it's going to be a draw. All right, knight c3, maybe knight c5 to stop, knight a4, okay, knight d5, maybe knight b7, no, but knight b4, it's game over. Okay, take king c3, and that's going to be all she wrote. All right, so Dejak keeps his 1-point lead going into the bullet portion. All right, so let's see if Yu Yi can make a comeback. Vidit, by the way, did he win another game? Vidit going up 3-1. He will only need one more draw in the bullet portion to win this match. And Dennis Lazavik and Rauf Mametov are still all tied up 2-2. So some very exciting matchups. Just to recap the standings real quick, Deac has a 1-point lead over Yu Yi in the final of the winner's bracket. If he wins one more game, he will qualify to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. Vidit has a 2-point lead over Vasquez. He only needs one more draw. And Dennis Lazavik and Rauf Mametov are all tied up. So let's take a very, very short break as we are getting ready for the bullet section. But we will be right back with more action in the first qualifier to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. Actually, never mind. You know, we're already off into the bullet portion. We have a Queen's Gambit decline here. We see a trade on d5 and bishop to g5, putting pressure on the knight, c6. Okay, so let's see. Really, in bullet, it's about who gets the easier moves. We see a trade here on d3, knight bd7 or bishop b7, both are fine. So let's see what is going to happen. Knight bd7 on the board, you want to recapture the knight, f3. Yu Yi, perhaps he wants to expand in the center with the move e4. And really in the bullet, they have to alter their time management. I mean, Deac, he cannot play as slowly as he did in the Blitz portion. He really has to play faster. So let's see what he's going to do. Maybe move this bishop out of the way, put some pressure on this pawn. He goes c5, striking in the center. Now black can get the isolated pawn on d5, but this pawn on e3 is also quite weak, as it's no longer supported by this pawn over here. So rook 81 by Yu Yi, keeping the tension. One thing that worries me a little bit is that Yu Yi has got 2 bars. Hopefully he will not lag and, you know, lose on time or something, but he's got the edge here. The pawn on d5 is isolated, this knight can jump to f5. And he certainly has the easier moves. He's up almost 20 seconds on the clock here. Deac has to speed up. He goes g6, stopping this knight from jumping into f5. So let's see what Yu Yi is going to do. Maybe knight e2, putting some pressure here. He goes queen b1. All right. I guess maybe rook e1 at some point, defending this pawn over here. Let's see what Deac is going to do. Maybe bring this rook into the game. He goes a6, stopping this knight from jumping here. Okay, rook d2. I guess he wants to double up the rooks. And there we go. Queen b6, decent move. I guess the easy thing in bullet is that you just have to move. You have to move. In a blitz game, you still think like, well, I have to think a little bit. But in bullet, like, hey, I just got to keep going. So knight e5. He wants to go knight c4. Attack the rook. Attack this. Attack this. So that is why Yu Yi steps out of the way. Knight c4. Okay. You want to get rid of the knight, but you quite can't. As I think black has a tactic over here. So let's see, he goes h3, slightly improving the position. Maybe bishop b4 here, putting some pressure on the knight. Queen a5, also fine move, but this allows knight b3 with a tempo. Where do you go? This pawn on d5 is hanging. Queen b6 runs into e4. Deac down to his last 8 seconds. He goes queen b6. e4, attacking the queen. The queen has over queen c7. You can take the pawn. Take it. Is he going to take it? You can take the knight, take the rook, takes. Yu Yi up a pawn here. Can he convert this one into a win? Knight b6. Knight b6 and the rook would have been trapped, but bishop f6, rook c2, queen b7, queen c1, nice move. All right, rook d8, good move. Maybe b3 here. Okay, takes. Okay, takes. Maybe knight b6. Okay, the pawn on d5 is hanging, but you can keep it on the board. d6, and there we go. d6, queen d5, taking the knight, and upon knight c6, can you take knight d7, rook d2 here? Knight d7, okay, giving up the pawn, but black has got weak dark squares. Okay. Gotta move, check, king up, check, queen c3, f6, okay. White's certainly still better here. Black's king is a little bit weak. Rook d6, nice move going after the e6 pawn, but there might be a knight d3. The rook is hanging, rook d7, good move. All right, queen e4, offering to trade the queens, take, check, and rook d2. Okay, maybe check. Bishop b3, rook e2, check. Forcing the king back to the back rank, or knight f7 as a move as well. Bishop h6, tricky move, takes, g5, check, king h8, rook b7, king back, take, check, the player's moving back and forth, a4, setting that a pawn in motion, but what about rook f3, push, rook a4, rook a7, and push. Okay, Yu Yang-yi having a chance to come back here. G4, maybe H4, keeping it close. Check. Okay, A7. The pawn is super close to promotion. Rook B7 and you win the rook. Check and queen. And that's all she wrote. Alright, so Yu Yang-yi strikes back in the first bullet game. And it's 2.5, 2.5. Whoever wins this game qualifies to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. The pressure is on. Bogdan Dejic opens up with the Catalan opening, and Yu Yang-yi plays the solid bishop d7 variation. Knight c3 by Dejic. You can take here c6 also possible. Castles, a5. I had this in a recent game against Darius Schwiertz. Rook e1. Dejic aiming for a very quick e4 push. Knight d2. Okay, let's see what's going to happen here. b5, a typical pawn sacrifice. Takes, takes. The idea is queen b6, putting pressure on the knight and the pawn on d4. Alright, queen b6. Queen b6, attacking the pawn. a4, bishop a6. Black has got good compensation here. Maybe e4 here, trying to open up the diagonal as quickly as possible. Let's see what is going to happen. Alright. Okay. Dejic taking his time here. Goes e4. Okay, takes, takes. And I guess you take again. Takes, takes. Okay, maybe e5, grabbing more space, but the knight just jumps around. You can take with black recapture, the knight is doing perfectly fine. Dejic getting low on time, he's down his final 30 seconds. Yu Yang-yi having a 25-second lead on the clock. Dejic really has to speed up, you cannot play like this in bullet. 94. What is Yu Yang-yi gonna do? Maybe move rook to the c-file, get out of this diagonal. Or rook b8, both moves look perfectly fine. Rook c8 on the board. Maybe bishop d2, putting some pressure over here, but you do hang the pawn on b2. I like Yu Yang-yi's position. I think his moves are a little bit easier to play. And he's got a 30-second lead on the clock. Dejic has to speed up for bishop d2. Maybe just take over here. Bishop b4 also fine. Kiss takes, you have to take with the queen. Not allowing this fork. Queen a4. Okay, maybe just... he's attacking this pawn over here. But again, white will be stuck with an isolated pawn. And Yu Yang-yi has the edge on the clock. Knight f6. I guess you trade now. Maybe trade on b4 and go like rook a4. Take. Take, we see the trade, maybe rook c1. Okay, rook c4, defending the pawn and attacking this pawn over here. Rook c4, nice move, rook d1. Maybe g6, make some move for the king. Rook b8, defending this pawn furthermore. Maybe d5, time to simplify and go for a draw. d5. Are we gonna go down in Armageddon? If this game ends in a draw, which is quite likely. Okay, rook c2, Yu Yang-yi going for it. Bishop e3 was a chance. Okay, rook a7, takes, takes. You take the pawn, but rook d7, it's gonna be a draw. It's going to be a draw. Black is up a pawn, but the rooks are going to be too passive. Rook b7, so you cannot hang on to this one. You're going to have to play a move like g6, rook d4. This b pawn is going to disappear, and so it's simply going to be a 3 versus 3. Rook d4, king g2 also fine. King g7, I guess. Okay, it's taking a lot of time here. b3, rook d3, and that's going to be all she wrote. It's going to be a draw. Rook e8, straight, and it's going to be a draw. Unless one player flags. Alright, you guys, so the final in the winner's bracket ends in 3-3, so we are going to go down in Armageddon. Alright, so both players are going to have to bid. Let's see what's happening in the loser's bracket. We have this matchup between Dennis Lazavik and Ralph Mametov. Ralph only needs to draw in this game. Is he going to manage? Dennis up a pawn here. Can he convert this one? Rook d8. Ralph threatening to take here, so maybe move the bishop out of the way, and there we go. f6 maybe by Ralph. Bishop b6, also fine move. King e2, the king steps up. Knight d6, the knight is jumping around. Knight d2, maybe knight b5, bishop b2. Bishop b2, defending the pawn, okay. Trade, trade, rook d4. Rook d4, taking the pawn. Okay, you have rook c6. Take the pawn. Take here. Take the pawn. Dennis still pawn, but bishop d7, great find by Ralph. a5 though. Rook a4, Dennis still up a pawn. Can he convert this one into a full win, into a full point? But there goes the extra pawn. Oh, rook e4, that was a full knight. That was a full knight. King e3 takes. King, okay, g4 now. But his a-pawn keeps pushing up the board. I guess you give the bishop and take the pawn on g2. This should be a draw, but Dennis can definitely still try here. The knight is, of course, super tricky. If Ralph can get rid of this last final pawn, it is a theoretical draw, even if he loses all of his own pawns. But, again, it's always tricky with a couple seconds on the clock when you're dealing with a knight. Knight f4, the knight is jumping around. Dennis moving his king off the board. Okay, king of 2, knight e3 now. Knight g4 maybe. The knight's jumping. h5, knight f6. Okay, it's jumping back and forth. King f4. King f3, rook b3. Rook a7, good move. Okay, king e4. But then check. Difficult for White to make progress. Dennis is going to try. He needs a win here. He needs to win to keep the match going. King e4, king e4. King e4, check, knight c4. Or, no, you cannot take. You cannot take king d4, knight c4. Okay. Okay, knight e5, knight e5. Yep, go after the f7 pawn. This is getting tricky. Check, king e3. Rao's gonna go. He goes king e6. How do you take? Maybe with the knight? If you take it the rook, okay, he goes king e4. Nice move by Dennis. And king f3, g5. Great move by Ralph. Trading off some pawns. Can Dennis keep this game going? Knight d3, rook a3. Ralph defending great here. f5, king e3 takes. You cannot take king d4. Check. You have to go to c3. f3, check. Good move. Rook c1. Now, I think Dennis will manage. King g5. The king steps up. Okay, h4 maybe just. King g4, check. King e3, but f2. Rook g1. But can Dennis keep this game going? Ralph can maybe just trade off here. f2, you can take. Take. Okay, check. Okay. Played, check. Okay, knight f6. Okay, he's getting rid of some pawns, but is it going to be enough? You can take another one. You can take an... Knight f4. Oh no, he cannot keep the game going. He cannot. Check. And there we go. Check. Oh my god. King h2, only move. He finds it. King h1, rook h1, and there we go. And that is the match for Ralph Mametov. What a roller coaster. But Ralph Mametov moves on into the loser's bracket. What a match. What a match. All right, let's see what's going on. Let's see what has happened. All right. Let's see what has happened in the... Let's pull up the bracket. All right, so here we see that Yu Yangyi and Dech are all tied up 3-3. So it's going to be decided in an Armageddon. And Ralph Mametov moves on after a roller coaster. He defeats Dennis Lazavik 3.5 to 2.5. And Vidit against Vasquez, I don't know what happened. I don't see the match. And neither do we see it in event. So maybe someone can tell us... Okay, so we're getting word that, wow, Yu Yangyi, he bid 420 and Bogdan Dech, he bid 5 minutes. Dech wants to have the white pieces. He made that very clear. So let's see what's going to happen. I guess Dech is just banking on the fact that maybe Yu Yangyi will have some lag. Maybe he feels that he's the better blitz player with no increment and perhaps he just wants the white pieces. But he only has a 40-second advantage. That's not that much. So let's see what is going to happen. Yeah, 420. I don't see Vidit. I don't see Vidit. Maybe anyone can tell us. Yeah. Okay, I don't know what happened to Vidit. Let's see if we can pull it up somehow. Okay, so Vidit. Wait, it's a little bit odd. Vidit and Castro played 4 games, but I don't see the bullet portion in their match. So apparently when Vidit went up 3-1, Vasquez just resigned the match and left. Alright, so Vidit moves on into the loser's bracket as well. Okay, so let's have a look. So we have Yu Yangyi against Dech. Then we have Ralph Mametov moving on. And actually this Armageddon game has just lifted off. So Yu Yangyi starting off with 420. He plays the Petrov defense. Dech going knight d3. Queen e7 now only move to block. So knight f4, knight f6. So let's see what's going to happen. A pretty solid opening for black. Dech needs to win here. Perhaps he realizes that, hey, without the increment, he just has to keep going. Bishop e3, bishop f5. Let's see what they're going to do. g6. Okay, knight c3 here. Knight c3 looks tricky because knight d5 is a threat. Let's see if Dech will go for that. He goes c3, a little bit more timid. Okay, bishop g7. Now this looks pretty fine for black. And Yu Yangyi is already cutting into the time advantage. He's only down 25 seconds on the clock. He started off with a 40-second time disadvantage. Dech really has to try to keep the pace here, especially because there's no increment. What about a move like bishop g4? f3 is a possibility, but it does weaken your position a little bit. Bishop g4, there we go. And you can always drop back to d7. Looks perfectly fine for black. Bishop d7. Because now the bishop on e3 is a little bit loose. Bishop g2, you can go this way. You can also go this way, kingside castles. But I guess, given the fact that this is a must-draw game, so to speak, for Yu Yangyi, I think he will choose the safe route. Bishop f2. I like how this game is progressing for Yu Yangyi. I think he's doing pretty fine here. He's cutting into the time advantage. Now he's down only 20 seconds on the clock. And again, he only needs to draw. So let's see what Deac will do. He really has to play faster. Knight d2. Okay. I guess we'll see trade here. Okay, rook h e8. I guess you will castle here. You can also trade yourself. So let's see what is going to happen. All right, he's only down 10 seconds on the clock here. Queenside castles is on the board by Deac. Maybe you just trade the queens here, or g5, also fine. Move takes, take with the knight or with the rook. Both look fine. He decides to take with the knight. The knight's going to jump back here or here. Lots of options for Deac. And then there's also the possibility to go g4. Because if you take, you can recapture with the knight. I kind of like g4 because it also opens up this diagonal for the bishop. But he goes h5. Okay, perhaps preparing that move g4. Maybe bishop c4 by Deac. Or bishop to d3. The time is even now. Actually, Yu Yangyi is up a couple of seconds. Deac really has to speed up here. Again, he cannot get low on time. There's no increment. If you have no time, you just lose the game. And that's it. He still has a chance, of course, in the loser's bracket. Bishop h6 by Yu Yangyi. Nice move. It really seems like Yu Yangyi has found the pace here. Let's see what Deac is going to do. Perhaps, you just move your king out of that diagonal. Or you move a rook to the e-file. Also makes perfect sense. But look at the clock. Deac started out with a 40-second advantage, and now he's down 30 seconds on the clock. This is not how you should play in an Armageddon. You should try to keep that time advantage. Knight d5. Let's see what Deac is going to do. But everything is going great so far for Yu Yangyi. The position is completely fine. He's up 30 seconds on the clock. King b1 by Deac. Now might be a good time to go g4 as you attack that knight on d2. Let's see if Yu Yangyi is going to go for that. Well, Deac is the one who's playing a little bit slowly. b5 by Yu Yangyi, nice move, making sure that white can no longer kick the knight away with c4. I mean, you can, but then black can take. And again, look at the clock. Yu Yangyi up 30 seconds here. Deac really has to play faster. He's got to try to find some way to complicate. This has not been his game so far. He really wanted the white pieces. That's why he bid 5 minutes. But he's not finding the pace. He goes king to c2, a6. By Yu Yangyi. Look at Yu Yangyi. He's moving super quickly. He's only spent a second on this move. He just wants to keep the pace and just ask Deac, like, hey, what are you going to do? He goes, takes, and rook e1. Okay, I mean, I don't think Yu Yangyi minds straights here. He only needs a draw. Okay, you have to take with the knight. Bishop takes e1. Bishop h3. Bishop h3. And the knight is trapped. That's it. That's it. Bishop f1. Takes knight e3. Yu Yangyi is going to qualify to the main event. It's over. It's over. He only needs to draw in this game. And this knight on g2 is trapped. It cannot go anywhere. Like, look, it cannot, like, all of these squares are covered. And Deac just resigned. Wow. What a game. I think a very strong performance by Yu Yangyi in the Armageddon. But not quite Deac's best game here. He quickly lost the time advantage. And here he also lost the knight. But great stuff by Yu Yangyi, who we will see in the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. All right, so let's see what's happening in the... All right, so I think that wraps up this round. So let's recap all of the action real quick. So Yu Yangyi is the winner of the winner's bracket. He qualifies to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. And Mametov and Vidit are going to duke it out in the semifinals of the loser's bracket. The winner of that match will face Deac for a shot in the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. Anyway, with all of that being said and done, we are going to be taking a very short break, but do not go anywhere. You do not want to miss all of the action that's coming up, and I will see all of you after the break. Welcome back, everyone, to the first qualifier to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. I'm your host, Grandmaster Benjamin Bach, and we are watching the semifinals of the losers bracket between Vidit and Ralph Mametov. I had not realized that they had started yet, but it seems like Vidit has taken a 1-0 lead, and we have a King's Indian on our hands here. Ralph breaks in the center with the move d5, and Vidit going queen e1. Vidit still playing quite quickly. I wonder if he's still somehow in his preparation. White really does not mind the trade on e4 because they can recapture and have a lot of pressure on that knight on f6. So let's see what Ralph is going to do here. Ralph does decide to take, okay, I guess you take with the pawn or you go rook d1 first. Let's see which one Vidit is going to go for. But Vidit, he's known for his preparation. He's super well prepared. He starts with rook to d1 and now queen e7. Okay, I guess now you take an e4. And black, I guess, has to do something about the spin. So maybe g5 has to be played here. Let's see if Ralph is going to do that. If you don't do that, then eventually White can move a knight at d5 and increase the pressure, and it's just going to be a little bit too much. I think now would be a good time for Ralph to go g5, but it's a little bit scary for Ralph that Vidit is still playing quite quickly. g5, bishop g3. I guess now you take. You can take twice. I wonder if there's a tactic for Vidit, maybe something like bishop h5 attacking this. So not an easy position at all for Ralph to deal with. Let's see what he's going to do. All right. You can also develop, but bishop d6 might then be an unpleasant move to face. So let's see what he's going to do. I think sooner or later you should take on e4. Vidit also taking the edge on the clock here. And just to remind everyone of the format, we will start off with 2 games of 5+1, then 2 games of 3+1, and then 2 games of 1+1. And the first player to reach 3.5 points will win the match. Ralph has decided to take the pawn on e4. The thing is that after takes, you can take the knight on c7, but this knight on c2 is hanging as well, as is the bishop on e2. So bishop h5, nice move by Vidit. Attacking the pawn on f7. In case you take an e1, I guess you could take here with the check, or you can just recapture, because this knight is hanging, and the pawn on f7. So I don't actually see how Ralph is supposed to defend against both threats. So actually, is he just losing material here? I don't see how he can hang on here. I think he might have to sacrifice something. So, great start so far for Vidit. He's won the first game, and he might be taking game number 2 here as well. I think for Vidit, Vidit's a good bullet player, but I think Ralph is a little bit more experienced. So Vidit would love to take the lead here in the Blitz portion. So let's see if he can. Let's see if he can. I think if they're tied going into the bullet, Ralph definitely has the edge. So Vidit should try to take at least a 1, maybe a 2-point lead going into that section. Okay, so Ralph does decide to take on e1, and perhaps now you just take with the knight. Again, this is hanging. The pawn on f7 is attacked as well. I guess you can go rook to e7, and then in case of check, maybe you just move your king over. Looks pretty scary, but for the moment, black is hanging on there. So let's see what Vidit's going to go for. You can take an e1, take an f7 right away, but I guess black can just move the king over. So let's see what Vidit is going to do. Okay, Vidit taking his time. I suppose he's going to take. But yeah, right now this is our only matchup. Deac is just waiting for the winner of this match, and he will face him for a shot in the main event. Alright, so let's see what Vidit's going to do. He definitely has the edge here. He's up on time. He's having a bunch of threats. But, of course, he still has to convert. So let's see what he's going to do. Okay. Alright. Lots of options here. Vidit really taking his time, perhaps, in case he takes. Ralph could also play a move like bishop e6. And there we have knight takes e6, knight takes e1 by Vidit. Rook e7 instantly by Ralph, defending the pawn on f7 and the knight on c7. Check, king h7. What about bishop d6 now for Vidit? Attacking the rook. And if the rook moves, should take the knight on c7. So I don't see how Ralph is not losing material here. I think he has to sacrifice somehow, like rook e8. And in case it takes, you can take here and go bishop e6. Perhaps it's still manageable, but it's not looking good. So let's see what he will do. Tough position for Ralph. If he goes down 2-0, you know, it's not over just yet, but it's not looking good. He's gonna have to strike back sooner or later. Yeah, Vidit playing super well so far. He was really well prepared going. He showed his opening preparation, and he found some good moves after. So let's see what Rao's gonna do. I think Rao's got to play a move like maybe rook d7 or rook e8. Rook e8, good move. Okay, so in case it takes, I guess you take and go bishop e6, attacking the bishop on d8 and a pawn on a2. So at least black will get a second pawn. So it takes bishop e6. There we have it. You also defend this pawn over here. Maybe Vidit will go bishop e7, forcing the trade of bishops. But again, like Rao will get a second pawn, so it's far from over. That being said, Vidit also has a 1 minute lead on the clock. So certainly not an easy position for Rao to be in. So Vidit's taking his time here. Let's see what he's going to do. Again, I would think bishop e6. But let's see if that's the move he will end up playing. Okay, bishop f6 has just been played. Okay, I guess bishop takes a2. And then let's see what Vidit will do. I mean, I guess he can trade and move his knight in. Looks like a pretty safe continuation. White certainly having the edge here, especially if the knight can move into f5. So let's see if that is what he's going to go for. He takes on g7. Black recaptures. Okay, now I guess you move the knight, because it's pretty passive right now. Knight f3, decent move. I guess he wants to go to d4. So what about rook d8 by Rauf? Knight, rook d8, okay, rook c8 possible as well. He wants to go to c2, so now knight d4 looks like a nice move. Stopping rook c2, and your knight wants to jump into f5. And if Vidit gets some time here to go like h3, then check, go knight d6. I think he will have a winning position. He's also up on time. So things looking really good here for Vidit to take a 2-0 lead. Rauf really getting his back pushed against the wall here. So let's see if he can hang on. But it's looking tough. It's looking tough, and he's getting down to his final minute. Vidit having all the chances in the world here to extend his lead. So let's see what Rauf's going to do. Tough position for Rauf. Okay, he goes rook to c7. Okay, defending the pawn on f7 once more. But now Vidit can also consider a move like b3. Blocking in that bishop. And hey, if you get the time to trap it with rook a1, white will go up another piece. So let's see if Vidit's going to go for that. However, b3, rook a1 does not threaten to take the bishop just yet, as black will get the move rook c1. So let's see, maybe you start off with a move like king g1, bring the king closer to the action. h3 possible as well. h3, there we have it by Vidit. Okay, a6, a risky move by Rauf. Maybe now b3, although I guess you have rook d7, attacking this pawn, this knight over here. You do have a check, but the king can move over. So let's see what Vidit's going to do. Vidit's time advantage is dwindling, but again, he's still up a piece. Okay, b3 played, rook d7. I think the only move for Rauf to hang on, because you do not want to just lose that bishop over there. Okay, so rook d7 played. Guess maybe check. Goes rook d1, okay. Nice move defending the knight. Note that the rook is defended by the bishop. Knight f5 now is a game-winning threat. Maybe king f6. And now perhaps you bring your own king closer. So let's see what Vidit is going to do. Okay, Vidit also dropping below a minute. It still looks pretty good for him. But he's got to try to keep up the pace. King g1 played. King e5 runs into knight f3. That would not be a good idea. And if Vidit gets time to move the king up, he's going to be in pretty good shape. So let's see what Rauf's going to do here. Again, if you take, you recapture. The rook is protected. Maybe you can start pushing over here, but it doesn't really do much. You can always take a b5 by Rauf. Okay, king f2, I guess now. Keep moving the king up. Like king f2, king e3, and then rook a1 looks pretty logical. You can also start out with this move. I mean, after the trade, this pawn will be hanging. But king f2, there we have it from Vidit. Bishop e1. A crafty move by Rauf. Now, if you take the bishop, you can take over here. Rook a1 forces black to go passive with... Okay, goes king e3. Okay, that hangs a pawn. g4. Rauf wants to trade off a lot of pawns. If he trades off all of the pawns, he might have a chance to go in a rook and bishop versus rook game, which is not pleasant to defend, but it is theoretically a draw. So rook takes g4. I guess Vidit should take and move his king closer to here. But the nice thing for Vidit is that he can always plant his bishop, let's say in f3, defend this pawn over here, king b1, king a2, goes bishop h5. He wants to put that bishop over here. King e3, but rook f3? Wasn't rook f... No, I guess Rauf would be able to trade off the okay, bishop f3, king f4, I guess. Vidit can take this pawn over here. This should be a win, but check, clever move, and Maybe now you take, I guess, h5 check. Okay, king g6. You cannot take with the rook. You cannot take with the bishop because it's pinned. So not over just yet. Wait, Vidit, you gotta move. Rook e6, king up. King up. Check, maybe. Okay, goes rook h4. Ralph should be able here to trade with the last pair of pawns. But Vidit should always be able to get a h3 now. Vidit's blown it. Okay, take, and it's gonna be a draw. Take on g2. Take on g2. It's kind of unfortunate for Vidit that he did not even manage to get a rook versus rook and bishop versus rook endgame out of this. And now the game is just going to end in a draw. So yeah, nothing to be done here. Rook d4, and there we go. All right, so Vidit wins the 5+1 portion, but it felt like he could have won 2-0. Ralph definitely still in this match. And again, I think Vidit is especially disappointed that he did not find a way to go into a rook and bishop versus rook endgame. Like, let's say he moves the bishop, black can go... Oh, anyway, I was going to just point out real quick... Oh, well, this was the first game that Vidit won. Just wanted to point out real quick, if Vidit moves the bishop... Okay, well, never mind. Anyway, let's just watch the next game. Let's just watch the next game. And here we have the Vienna opening by Ralph. He goes knight f3, attacking this pawn over here. The knight on f3 is slightly misplaced. That's often why we would love to push the move f4, but now you're going to have to move your knight first. So let's see what's going to happen. Bishop e3 by Ralph. He's offering the trade of bishops, but I think this should be perfectly fine for Vidit. The bishop on g2 to me looks misplaced. You'd rather have it on b3, like in the Armageddon, like in the Italian. The Armageddon breaks tie. It means that the Armageddon will break a tie. That's what it means. Okay, so knight g4, knight g5 attacking the bishop, bishop g4 attacking the queen. Looks like a pretty fine position for Vidit. Also, to remind everyone, we are now in the 3+1 portion, so it's only gonna get faster and faster from here. I think, again, Vidit would love to take a 2-point lead going into the bullet portion. If it's a 1-point lead, I give Ralph pretty good chances to mount a comeback. But with 2 points, I think Vidit should take it. So let's see, king g7, okay, maybe h3 now for Ralph. Attacking that bishop. If the bishop moves back, there's knight f5. Or wait, d5. d5, the bishop is trapped. All of a sudden, Vidit has blundered, and Ralph looks very good here to create a comeback and level the score. If you take, you recapture, the bishop is trapped, it cannot go anywhere. In case of bishop f5, there's even f4. You can also just take it. This looks terrible for black. Takes everything. Follow with rook f1, looks great, and Ralph just decides to go for that. Looks like a terrible position for Vidit, and Ralph's moves are very easy here. You go rook a fe1, queen f2. The position really plays itself here. Knight e4 also a threat. Ralph's gonna win this game. Ralph's gonna win this game. This looks unholdable for Vidit. But of course he's gonna try to hang on. Rook g8, okay, knight e4 now, or queen f2. Both look absolutely crushing. Let's see which one Ralph will settle on. In case of knight e4, you can still take, and in case it takes here, bishop takes e4, there is takes. So maybe you just start off with queen f2. Let's see what Ralph's going to do. Queen f2, putting more pressure on the knight. Also defending this pawn. But yeah, it's just a super tough position for Vidit. I mean, queen e7, there might already be stuff like knight e4. He takes on c3. He takes. Now, I guess the nice thing for Vidit is that Ralph's bishop on g2 is not the most active bishop on in the world. Maybe you go, okay, he goes rook f8, maybe now g4, expanding on that side of the board. Okay, c5, nice move, forcing Vidit to take the pawn. There's d6 here. You can also still push with g4, and that's what Ralph goes for. But knight e8, excellent move by Vidit. He wants to go knight d6, defend this pawn over here, and reroute the knight to a great square, blockading the pawn. But maybe now Ralph should try to break with g5. He goes queen g3 and rook f2. This game is actually far from over. Vidit has built up a nice construction here. He's expanding on the queen side, h4. Ralph would love to break with g5, and Vidit just allows him. I think maybe he should have stopped him with f6. g5, okay, rook h8. Maybe something like rook f6 here. Let's see how Ralph is going to try to make his way through the black position. Rook f6, this rook is poison. If you take, you run into a fork. So tough position for Vidit. If you push, maybe like queen f2, and then you threaten to take here. It feels like Vidit built up a construction, but now it looks like it's collapsing. Again, Ralph is going to put pressure on this knight on d6, and then try to take this pawn. So not easy at all for Vidit to hang on here, who's getting down to his final minute. It looked like Vidit played great chess right out of the start, but now Rav is coming back. He's only down a point in the match, and this is very much looking like it's going to be his game. King g8, you're still not threatening to take the rook, as white will have a discovery on your king and queen. So let's see how Rav will continue here. I mean, queen g4 is a good move. You can also move the rook over. Lots of options here for Rav to improve the position, and he's got an advantage on the clock. Bishop h3 is the move Rav went for. Okay, so putting some pressure on that knight on d7. This does allow knight to e4 though. Knight e4 could perhaps give Vidit a chance to come back into the game. Queen g4, maybe you sack the rook and take here or take an f6. Let's see what Vidit's going to do. But if you do not play knight e4, Rav's going to take here and go g6, and that looks absolutely crushing. So I think Vidit should go for this move knight e4. So let's see if he will. Okay, he goes knight f8, looks a little bit passive. What about g6 here? g6, takes, queen g7, bishop b6 is checkmate, and g6 on the board. Rav's going to win this game. It looks pretty much over at this point. There's no way to defend here. It's over. It's over. If you take everything, there will be bishop b6 at the end. And yeah, Vidit's going to go down here. A very unfortunate loss, but it is what it is. He takes... Okay, rook takes g6 is going to lead to checkmate pretty soon. He takes an f8, also crushing. Queen takes g6. Queen g7, bishop b6 is over. And Rav is taking his time. Okay, he takes the queen. Okay, I mean, he's still winning after queen e5, but, you know, he still has to win, but there we go. He levels up the score. Okay, so it's 1.5, 1.5. And we saw how Vidit scored how he got a great position against Rav's King's Indian. So very understandably, Rav mixes it up with the Tarash, I guess this is. Okay, knight c6. Let's see what Vidit's going to do. Could take on c5. g3 is also an option. So let's see what he will play here. He goes g3. Now let's see if Rav will go into the Tarash or, yeah. Okay, lots of options here for white. Let's see which one Vidit will choose. He takes on c5 and goes knight a4, kicking the bishop away to the more passive square on e7, so that then he can develop his own bishop to e3 and follow up with rook c1. Bishop e6 played by Rav. Okay, that's possible. The drawback, however, is that white can always trade off their knight for this bishop. Okay, b3 played by Vidit, aiming to fianchetto his bishop on b2. Okay, so let's see what Rav is going to do. Maybe he will move his bishop back to c7. Rook e8, bishop b2. I like this position for Vidit. Black has got the isolated pawn on d5. He can always get the bishop pair over here. Now Rav would be forced to recapture with the a pawn, because if you take out the queen, you hang this pawn on d5. Okay, so Vidit takes, pawn takes b6, forced by Rav Mametov. And now you want to go rook c1, but that's going to hang this pawn over here. So maybe you have to spend a move on something like a3, but knight d4, also a nice move by Vidit. Putting his knight in the middle. He would love this trade here, because then his queen would get to the nice d4 square, putting pressure all over the board. And now might be a good time for Rav to start creating counterplay with this typical h5, h4 push. Let's see if he's going to go for it. He goes queen f6, putting pressure on the knight on d4. And Vidit can just play a move like e3, solidifying the knight a little bit. He goes a3 instead, because I guess he wants to move this rook into the game and not hang the a2 pawn. But let's see what Rav's going to do. Maybe now, again, is it time to go h5, h4, create some counterplay. Knight g5, followed by knight h3, move as well. So let's see which one Rav is going to go for. But I think he's got to try to create counterplay at some point. If he just sits and waits, it's going to be unpleasant. White has got a better pawn structure, the bishop pair. So black has to create counterplay one way or another. So let's see how he will try to do so. All right, Rav taking his time here. Vidit is building up a nice time advantage. He's up 50 seconds on the clock here. Maybe you just continue your development. Bishop d7, also possible, of course. Let's see what he is going to do. I mean, h5, also a nice move. He's got to move here. You cannot fall too far behind on the clock. There's only the 1 second increment, which is not fun to deal with. He's got to move. I mean, just maybe h5, h4, just choose a move and go with it. Okay, Rav taking a lot of time here. Goes queen e7 after a 1 minute and 17 second think. Okay, he's stepping out of this diagonal, but Vidit was not threatening to take just yet. Maybe now just e3 by Vidit. Solidifying the knight on d4. Goes rook c1, also nice move. He's threatening to take here, bishop d7 now by Ralph. Maybe again e3 or knight b5, also solid move. Let's see what Vidit will do. I would personally just go e3, like solidify the position. Okay, knight b5, hitting the pawn and threatening knight c7, so bishop b6, defending against both threats, b4 by Vidit. And Ralph goes for it with the move h5. He wants to go h4 and soften up White's kingside a little bit. I think an excellent move. He's got to try to create counterplay somehow. You don't just want to sit and wait. And this is always annoying to deal with White. What do? Do you go h4? Well, that's possible, but it softens up the g3 pawn a little bit. Vidit goes e3, attacking the pawn. So now Ralph he said A, now he has to say B. He's got to go h4. White can take, though, with the idea that in case black recaptures, there is the fork with knight c7, but you do not want to play g6. You do not want to play g6 and weaken this long diagonal, so I think he has to go h4 here. But Ralph really struggling to find a pace here. He's now getting down to his final 40 seconds. h4 finally played, and Vidit goes queen h5 instantly. Alright, so takes, h3. Wait, that's just a free pawn. Just take it. I mean, I don't really see a trick there for black. I think it's a nice pawn to get rid of. Okay, so we see the trade. Knight d2 by Ralph jumping in, but you just go rook fd1. You do not go here, as that would allow a fork, but rook fd1 and Vidit has a dominant position. He's up a pawn, this is weak, queen g4 will always threaten checkmate. One otherwise thing, queen g4 right away is also possible, and but that allows d4. That allows d4 the intermezzo for Ralph, and then if you go here, there might be stuff like, there might be a move like 95. Yeah, 95, d4, 95. That would all of a sudden make it very tricky. Ralph down to his last 16 seconds. Is he going to find d4? In case you take, maybe also 95. He goes 95 right away, but now White can just take. Take, and rook fd1. This looks great for Vidit. Rook fd1. There we go. Knight is under attack. 94. Maybe just queen f4 offer queen shot. Or knight c7. Forking the rooks. Does that win the game? And he goes knight c7, forking the two rooks. I think Vidit's looking very good here to take the lead again. Queen b2, attacking this pawn over here. Maybe just queen f4, but black then has to move rook a c8, taking advantage of this rook on c1. So let's see what Vidit's going to do. Queen f4, rook a c8, only move to hang on. Yep, and he finds it. Okay, the knight you can take, but you hang the rook on c1. So it's far from over yet. Maybe Vidit should move the king to make sure that this never comes with a check. Let's see what he's going to do. It's getting very tricky here. But Ralph down to his last 10 seconds. Well, Vidit still has a nice amount of time. He still has 45 seconds on the clock. Let's see what he's going to do. King g2 played. Excellent move by Vidit. Ralph now down to his last 6 seconds. He goes rook to d8. Vidit has... Wait, can he go here, here? Knight e7 here. And then knight g6. Or something like that. It looks winning. Knight takes d5, rook takes c1, knight e7. Looks crushing. If you move to the h file, this is checkmate. And if you go to f8, I think knight g6 is winning. King e8, queen takes c4. Is he going to find it? Knight takes d5. He's got the time in the world. He's got the time. Knight takes d5 wins the game. Is Vidit going to find it? You gotta go. You gotta go. Knight takes d5. Is he going to find it? And there we go. Knight takes d5. Great find. Knight e7. It's just checkmate. Knight g6. Knight g6. And he finds it. King e8 runs to queen takes c4. And in case of king g8, you take here, king h7, and knight f8. It's got to be checkmate. It's got to be checkmate. Knight f8 leads to mate. Yeah. Knight e6. Knight e6. And you take here. Wow. So great game by Vidit. He wins game number 4. And so he goes into the bullet portion with a 1-point lead. But do not count out Ralph Mametov. We know what a strong bullet player he is. So he's definitely capable of mounting a comeback here. All right. So I assume the next games are going to start pretty soon. So let's wait and see. The players who qualify to the main event. Okay, so one player has already qualified, Yu Yang-yi, but one more player will qualify, the winner of the losers bracket. So it's either going to be Ralph, Mametov, Vidit, or Deach. The winner of this matchup will face Deach in the final of the losers bracket, bishop d6. Ralph playing a reversed modern opening, but I don't think Vidit can be too unhappy. Let's see how he's going to deal with this move e4. Okay, he just goes h6, knight h4. Okay, bishop b6 defending this pawn, h3, I guess castles. Okay, knight b7. I like Vidit's position here. He's nicely developed. He's got the center. Ralph playing a very dodgy opening. I think he just wants to avoid Vidit's opening preparation. Okay, so castles, knight f3. That's a little bit odd. I wonder if Ralph slipped there. Maybe he meant to play queen f3. Because to me it looks really odd to go knight h4 and then knight back. But, okay, Vidit taking his time here. Ralph certainly stepped up the pace. Bishop b4 by Vidit. I wonder in case of castles if he wants to take, but Ralph goes bishop to d2. Maybe now Vidit will go d4, but then Ralph will move the knight back. He takes an e4. Alright, so let's see what Ralph's going to do. He takes the pawn, maybe now b5, followed by bishop c4. Is always an unpleasant idea, and there we go, b5. a3, wait, bishop c4, where you have to go here. No, this is not good. You cannot go to e3, because then bishop c5, but Vidit goes passive with bishop e7. Bishop c4, you have to go to d1. If you go to e3, you lose your queen. Knight h7, nice move by Vidit. Maybe b3, he goes h4. Ralph going all out on the king side with h4 and g5. Let's see what Vidit's going to do. He goes bishop b6, taking the pawn, g5. Okay, h5, nice move by Vidit, keeping it closed. Let's see what Ralph's going to do. Maybe queen here. Queen here. Okay, you can just go bishop c4 and the queen has to move back. a5 by Vidit. Maybe bishop h3, offering to trade bishops. Ralph having a slight edge on the clock here. Knight to d1. He wants to move the knight around to e3. Now you have to go to e3. Bishop c5, there's queen c3. Knight, okay, queen c3, and the knight is hopping back to e3. This is very tricky. Okay, knight e5. Can you take bishop d4, queen g3? I don't know what's going on. Bishop d4, can you do this? No, you can't. b3, also a possibility. Black has to go here. 20 seconds apiece. What is Ralph Mametov going to do here? Queen takes e5, okay. Bishop d6, attacking the queen. Queen d4. c5, kicking the queen around. Rook e8, bringing the rook into the game. b3, but knight d5. Knight d5, great find by Vidit, and white is losing the queen. Bishop takes d5, another great move, and the queen is trapped. Vidit might take this game. If he wins this game, he wins the match. The queen is trapped. Take it, or just move your bishop. Move your bishop. Looks like a great position for Vidit, who's got a queen for a rook and a knight. But look at white's king is pretty exposed over here. Rook 81, maybe knight f8 at g6. That looks like a great way to reroute the knight. Okay, Ralph bringing his rooks into the game. Knight f8. Alright, knight g6. Knight d5, maybe just queen b7. Great move by Vidit. c4, but take a4. What a move! Breaking down white's pawn chain. Wow, and Ralph takes, but pawn takes c4. Everything is collapsing. If you move the knight, you hang the knight on c3. Rook a1, queen a8. Vidit extremely close to making it to the next stage here. Queen a6, c3 check. Alright, and c2, there's c2. c2 forking both the rooks. And Vidit wins the first bullet game, and with that, the match. Wow. Great play by Vidit, who goes on to qualify to the final of the losers bracket against Bogdan Dejac. Wow, what a match. Alright, so we'll have to wait for that match to start. Alright, so we are going on a very short break, but do not go anywhere, as you do not want to miss the final of... Okay, well, let's pull up the losers bracket. Let's pull up the bracket real quick. As you guys can see here, we see that Vidit won the semifinal of the losers bracket. And now he is going to be playing against Bogdan Dejac. Alright, there's going to be no grand final. Yu Yi is already qualified. So whoever wins, Vidit or Bogdan Dejac, qualifies to the main event. Anyway, with all of that being said and done, we are going on a very short break. But I will see you guys very soon. You do not want to miss the action, because we are going to find out who is going to be the second qualifier to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. Welcome back, everyone, to the first qualifier to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. I'm your host, Grandmaster Benjamin Bach, and we are now watching the final of the losers bracket between Bogdan Dejic and Vidit Gujarati. The winner of this match will make it into the main event, so the stage is set. Let's see who will do it. So Dejic was already very close. He was playing Yu Yang Yi earlier. However, he lost that final match, but he still has a chance here. Vidit, on the other hand, had to come back all the way from the losers bracket, and so here he has his chance. So we see that white has a slightly better position because this isolated pawn on d5, but it's only one weakness. Let's see if it will be enough for Dejic to create real problems here for Vidit. Vidit offering the trade of knights. So let's see if he will trade or move a rook to d1 and let black trade. Vidit, on the other hand, has got the c file, so he's not doing too bad. You do not want to take by the way the b pawn because that would hang the pawn over here. So rook 81 by Dejic, and the more I look at it, the more I'm starting to like it for Dejic. It's not easy at all to hang on to this d5 pawn. So let's see how Vidit will try to do so. All right, so okay, guys, rook to c5 can be played here, and white's gonna blockade on d4, followed by moving the other rook to d1, putting full pressure on the d5 pawn. Right, so just to remind everyone, we started with 2 games of 5+1, then we will play 2 games of 3+1, and then we will finish it off with 2 games of 1+1. And the first player to reach 3.5 points wins the match, and in this case will qualify to the main event. All right, so, and for those of you who don't know what's happening in the main event, we've got Magnus Carlsen, we've got Hikaru Nakamura, all the big stars in the world lined up to play, so you definitely want to make it in there. And, okay, so we see queen to d1 by Dejic. Now perhaps rook c2. You wouldn't mind trading off your weak d5 pawn for the a pawn. So I guess after rook c2, maybe you should play a move like rook d2. But I guess Vidit can trade, maybe go queen f5, trying to go rook c2 again. He goes rook c5, defending the pawn. I feel like Vidit should hold here. Again, white is a little bit better, but it to me doesn't seem like enough. It's because black has got this open c-file. And if you move your queen, it can always be pushed around by these rooks. So I feel like Vidit should hold. So it doesn't seem easy at all for white to make progress. But let's see how Dejic will try to do so. Maybe you move like rook d2, so then you move your queen, put the other rook on the d-file. At least you're making small steps to improvement. So let's see what he's going to do. Okay, h4 by Dejic. I assume that he wants to go g3. And he couldn't go g3 right here because that would hang the pawn on h3. So clever little move h4. Vidit did not want to allow to move h5, so that's why he goes h5 himself. And now he goes a5, gaining a little bit more space, discouraging white from going b4 and attacking his rook. So let's see what Dejic is going to do. Maybe queen f3, putting pressure on this pawn. He could follow with this, but the moment you move your queen, you're going to allow black to play rook to c2. So let's see what he's going to do. We saw earlier, by the way, in the match between Dejic and Yu Yang Yi, that Dejic was struggling with his time management. He lost the game on time, he often got low on time and blundered, so he really has to try to do better on that end in this match against Vidit. But he is already falling a minute and 20 seconds behind on the clock, so let's see how he will try to speed up. I guess, again, moving the queen or maybe moving the rook back, it all looks fine. Just make sure you keep time, because Vidit still has a nice bank of 3 minutes and 42 on his clock. Alright, so Dejic taking his time here. Maybe king g2, moving the king up the board a little bit. Cannot hurt. But again, you just gotta keep making moves. You gotta keep making moves. You cannot fall too far behind on the clock, as he will need that time later. He will need that time later if he wants to create real problems for Vidit. Okay, he goes a4, stopping black from expanding. Makes sense. Maybe now Vidit can go b5 anyway, because after takes takes, he can go after the pawn on b3. Let's see if he's going to do that. Or, play a move like king g7, slowly but surely improving the position. He goes b6, solidifying everything. All right, so let's see what Dejic is going to do here. As people pointed out in the chat, that dangerous 17th piece, exactly. You do not want to fall too far behind, as Dejic is doing now. He's now down 2 minutes on the clock. I wonder what Vidit's going to do after queen f3. I guess rook c3, but maybe just rook b1. Dejic's just got to keep moving. Maybe just a move like king g2. Doesn't really seem anything wrong with that. But again, the clock. He's getting down to 1 minute and 15 seconds. He's really got to speed up here. I don't really think he can realistically lose this one, but with a couple seconds on your clock, you can lose any position. You can lose on time, you can blunder, anything can happen. And he goes for king to g2. All right, I think Vidit is just gonna do the same and go king g7, slightly improving the placement of his king. He could also go rook c2, because in case you take, there's now queen takes c3. He goes queen f5, also very reasonable move. I guess he wants to go here. Let's see what's gonna happen. I guess maybe queen f3 by Deac, offering the trade of queens. And he should still be completely fine. He should not lose this game. He should not lose this game. But again, of course, anything can happen with the time situation. So let's see what he's gonna do. Queen e3, also solid move. I guess black will just trade and go rook c3, and black should be completely fine. But let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, Deac getting down to his last 30 seconds. He's really gonna move here. He goes rook f4. I think Vidit is just gonna move back to e6. Okay, or you can also move to e5. Let's see which one he's gonna go for. Okay, Vidit now taking a little bit of time. Let's see where he's gonna go. I guess here are his two main candidates. I guess, though, the drawback of queen e5 is that it allows queen f3 with a tempo. So I guess you want to go here to make sure that queen f3, your pawn on f7 is already defended, and you don't have to spend a move defending it. I guess you want to go here. Okay, Vidit now taking his time. Let's see where he's gonna go. And I wonder if Deac is going to move back and forth, or if he will find a way to keep the game going. Vidit goes queen to c2. Okay, maybe now queen... Okay, queen f3 is a move, but it does hang this, which is fine for Deac, but he's going into the complications, and he's low on time. He can also keep it very safe and just trade over here and go rook d1. He goes rook f6 right away. Okay, maybe now check for Vidit or b5. Both moves look completely fine in case it takes and take. I guess rook b2 should be a comfortable draw. Queen e4 check by Vidit, maybe queen f3 now, maybe you trade and go like rook c6. If anything, Deac is still better. Deac is still better. He's got the better pawn structure. This pawn is weak, so Vidit still has to be careful. It's just that Deac is very low on time. Okay, so rook c6 now perhaps, trading the rooks, and then you can go rook c3 quickly. Should be pretty fine for Vidit. Okay, so rook c6 play, trade, rook d1, rook c3. You know, it's all fine. Okay, rook c3, going for the active defense. Okay, I think Vidit, okay, b4, okay. I guess you just take, and it's probably going to come down to an endgame like this. Takes, rook takes d5, rook a3, here, you take here, which should be a draw, but actually, the rook on a4 is a little bit misplaced. Okay, Vidit takes on d5, rook a3, rook b5, take, king g7, but it's slightly more pleasant for white, as this rook on a4 is misplaced, but now he's allowing b3, or rook a2, and rook b2. King f3, rook b2, now the rook has certainly improved over the last couple of moves, maybe just b3. Okay, e5 by Deac, rook b1, and I wonder what Vidit's gonna do. He can just go rook b1 and just trade everything off. He goes king f8, okay, king f4 by Deac. You have to be a little bit careful, by the way. You do not want to allow this king to walk up the board. So maybe b2 is necessary here. Maybe b2. But b2 already, there's some stuff like e6 and king g5. It's already getting a little bit tricky. I think Vidit right here, he really should have tried to trade off that b pawn for the e pawn earlier. Because his rook on b1 is actually a little bit passive. It's stuck defending this pawn over here. Rook f1 attacking the pawn. Okay, you just go f3. And now this pawn is hanging. If you go rook b1, I mean, there might already be stuff like e6 or king g5 right away. Wait, this is a big threat. How do you deal with this? Rook f1, you can just take. Wait, Vidit in real danger here. Vidit in real danger. This could go wrong. King f6 is a big threat. If you go rook f1, you can just take the pawn. It's all still a draw, but you're going to have to defend an annoying 4 versus 3 endgame. So let's see which move he's going to go for. King g7 runs into e6. That's not really a possibility. Oh, Deac offered a draw earlier, but Vidit declined it. Wow. Okay, rook c1, e6 here, e6. He takes the pawn. Understandable that he didn't want to take any risks, low on time. Rook b7, rook e3, also fine. Let's see what Deac is going to do. Maybe g4 here, rook e4, rook c3. You do not want to trade into a lost king and pawn endgame, or rook and pawn endgame, king of 4. But now you just wait. Now you just wait with rook b3, and you wait. You want to keep an eye on this pawn in g4 or in f3, so it's difficult to try to move. You just keep shuffling. Okay, e6 is now a threat, so I guess you go back. Rook d4, okay, you just wait, or king g7, yep, king f8. g4 by Dh. Okay, so I guess take. Still white is pushing, but it all should be a draw. Check. King g5, rook e5 looks pretty convincing, or rook e4, sorry. Goes there. Also possible, maybe h5 by Dh. He goes king g5 first, rook e6 now, perhaps. Although, then there might be a tricky move like this. King g7 is possible. Rook e6. King f4. King g7. Yeah, this... Okay, rook back. Maybe h5. Okay, this is not over yet. Dh will get that pawn h6. Vidit has to take. Let's see. Everything should be a draw here. I think you should try to activate your rook. And there we go. Rook a8. h6. King h7. Rook f6. I guess you just go here. Maybe you just sit. Yeah, I think you just sit. Rook a7 and you sit. And the moment you sit... Oh, he had a chance to go rook f5 there, apparently. Okay, now you go rook down. Okay, wait, king f6. Okay, king f6. Take rook d8. Wait, this is tricky. Wait, is Vidit lost? Rook f8? Rook f8? The king is too far away. I think it's lost. It's lost. What a turnaround. Take, you have to check. No, but now you check and you go rook e1. Or there, and the king gets closer. King g6. This should be a draw now. King g7. Check. Rook a8. This is a theoretical king g6. This is a theoretical endgame king g7. King g6. There's nothing I can do here. Check. And this might already be a threefold, and there we go. Yeah, alright, Vidit, after some up and downs, holds this game to a draw. Dh was winning there for a second, but he missed it while he was low on time. So now we're off to game number 2 while the players are still tied. Okay, so big save for Vidit there. Okay, and we're starting off with a Queen's Gambit here. Let's see what Dh is going to do here. He goes c5, trying to simplify the game. And e3, played by Vidit. He wants to keep pieces on the board. Okay, Dh takes on d4, ed by Vidit, bishop b4. I think the main continuation here is to take and go bishop d2. And that is what... Okay, goes queen c2, also possible, bishop d7. Both players still playing quickly. They might still be in their preparation. Bishop c6 by Dh, activating the bishop on the long diagonal. I guess Vidit can just castle here in case it takes you recapture, take the bishop. So you're not forced to recapture on f3 and ruin your kingside pawn structure. So let's see if that's what Vidit is going to go for. But yeah, a good game by Dh. I think Vidit for a moment got a little bit too careless. And, but Dh has to play faster. But right now it's Vidit in the tank. So let's see what he's going to do. Okay, he goes for castles. Knight d7 by Dh. To make sure that after 95 you can just trade. So let's see what Vidit's going to do here. I like the fact that Dh is still in his prep. He's playing quickly and confidently. Knight e4 by Vidit. Perhaps now you just castle. And I feel like Black should be doing quite okay. You have this isolated pawn on d4. White's got some piece activity, but Black's pieces are pretty active as well. Queen e2, I think now is a good moment to castle. So let's see if that is what Dh will do. It goes bishop b7 back first, also possible, introducing the idea of knight b4. So maybe Vidit will play a move like a3. And then I assume Black is going to castle. But I like Dh's position. Okay, h4 by Vidit. Wow, he's already pushing that h pawn off the board, even though Black is not castled yet. Knight b4 is a possibility. h6, okay, knight f6 also possible by Dh, trying to trade off some pieces. So let's see what Vidit will do. Maybe like knight g5, but after h6, are you really going to sack? Perhaps he goes for it. Okay, so let's see. In case of h6, you're pretty much committed to sack. Because if you move back to h3, the knight looks misplaced there. You can move back to e4, but then you've just lost 2 tempi. So I guess Vidit does want to sack. He has a check, and queen takes e6, threatening checkmate. But there is bishop d5 to cover it. And I feel like Black should be doing okay here. So Dh could invite that sacrifice with h6, but he can also just go castles here. But then I guess Vidit wants to go knight e5, and then he has 2 active knights. So let's see what Dh is going to do. Okay, he goes for kingside castles. Now I expect to move knight e5 by Vidit, moving the knight in the middle of the board. He can potentially remove this bishop on c6, but he might also be looking at some sacrifice. So knight e5, bishop d5, nice move by Dh, keeping the bishop on the board. And now you're better prepared for any sacrifices on e6 or f7. So now DH might be going h6 on the next move. Bishop f4 by Vidit, bringing another piece into the game. Maybe h6 here, but I guess you just move the knight back to f3, and there we go, h6. I guess knight f3, keeping pieces on the board. Alright, so let's see what he's going to do. You can go knight e4, but I don't think you should be too eager to do that. Because since you have the isolated pawn, I think you want to keep pieces on the board to try to go for an attack. Like the more pieces that gets traded off, the weaker that d4 pawn gets and the lesser attacking chances you will have. Alright, so we see knight to knight gf3, good move. Alright, so let's see what's going to happen. DH can trade here. He goes queen b6, bringing his queen into the game. Maybe now it's time for Vidit to activate one of his rooks. Maybe rook e1, rook d1. Maybe a3 with the idea to go here and not hang this pawn over here. a3 has just been played. Maybe now DH can take. You force white to recapture with the pawn. Because if you take with the knight, you hang the pawn on e4. And then there might be some possibilities like knight g4, combined with bishop c5. Let's see if that is what DH will go for. You can also bring this rook into the game with rook f8. That's a very solid move as well. Alright, so let's see what DH is going to do. The World Cup has not been won yet by anyone. The finals going on, and the first game ended in a draw between Magnus and Pragnananda. Okay, so DH in the tank here. Time is even. Both players just below 3 minutes. So let's see which move he's going to play. To me, rook f8 looks perfectly natural, bring that rook into the game. But you can also go for the straight. So let's see what he is going to do. Alright, taking his time here. Again, like, he played pretty quickly in the beginning of this game, but now he's thinking, and he should try to keep that edge on the clock. Okay, he takes on f3, knight takes maybe bishop d6, offering to trade of bishops, but Vidit can keep that bishop on the board with bishop to d2. If you take, there is the move rook fb1 and the queen is trapped. So I feel like that was an unnecessary concession by DH to give up his bishop for the knight. Like, you can go knight d5, but Vidit can just go g3, stopping knight f4, slowly improve with moves like king g2. And I'm starting to like white's position a little bit. I think white has a slight, I mean, it should be around even, but I think Vidit could end up with an edge here because of his bishop pair. And his moves seem a little bit easier. Rook f8 by DH. I wonder if he wants to go for the move e5, breaking in the center. Let's see how Vidit is going to deal with that. He can maybe move his rook into the game, either the e1 or the d1. So let's see what he is going to do. But right now, Vidit also has a slight edge on the clock. He's up almost 30 seconds. All right, so let's see what he's going to do. Okay, he goes b4. All right, so let's see what is going to happen here. All right, so yeah, b4 by Vidit, expanding on the queen side. Okay, so maybe now knight d5. I guess you go g3, a5. Okay, you just take. Not easy to come up with a plan here for DH, and that is why he's thinking. He's wondering, like, hey, how do I improve my position? What do I do here? But there are no obvious moves. Maybe what he should do is go for a move like knight d5 with the positional threat, so to speak, of knight f4 to get rid of one of white's bishops. And in case white goes g3, maybe knight c3, queen e3, and just jump back and forth. Because I think, you know, with the current time situation, DH should not be happy with a draw here. But let's see what he's going to do. I mean, he's playing a fine game, but it's just the time. He's down more than a minute on the clock here. And so he's got to speed up. He's just got to make moves like knight d5, knight f6. Just make moves. But he's taking a lot of time here. Okay, knight e5 has been played. Knight f4 is a positional threat, as white is forced to give one of his bishops. That being said, though, I wonder how eager you are to go knight f4, because white can take and go queen e4, attacking the bishop and threatening to say hello on h7. So perhaps you shouldn't go knight f4 there. Maybe that... Okay, I guess in case of rook c1... Okay, Vidit stops it with the move g3, knight f6 by Dech. Maybe now move like king g2 by Vidit, slowly but surely improving his position. But it goes rook c1, also a good move. Bring the rook into the game. And I like the fact that Vidit is keeping the pace. a6 by Dech, king g2 by Vidit, queen a7. At some point you'd like to go knight e5, but that does hang the pawn on d4, bishop e1. Logical move by Vidit. He wants to put his queen on d3 to line up the queen and bishop. And then maybe, potentially, you can go for an idea like g4, g5 to dislodge the knight, but it's going to be difficult to make it work. a5 by Dech. The idea is that in case you take, you hang the pawn on a3. So let's see what Vidit is going to do. I mean, I guess you have to take, because this pawn is hanging. You can also trade the rooks first. So let's see what he's going to do. Vidit up a minute on the clock here. Can he put that time advantage to work? Let's see what he's going to do. Okay, he takes on c8. Black recaptures. He takes on a5. Black takes on a3. Now maybe queen b5 or queen e3. Both look pretty fine for white. Okay, queen b5. Stopping black from playing bishop b4. I think a nice move. And if Vidit gets a time here, maybe he'll move his bishop, go rook b1, and put some pressure on that pawn on b7. So let's see what Dech is going to do. I think it makes sense to move that bishop all the way back. Make sure it's never hanging. But again, look at the clock. He's down to his last 16 seconds. He's got to move here. He's got to move. Knight c3, by the way, move as well. But 12, you got to move. You got to move. You cannot get this long time. You got to move. b6, a6. I think Vidit certainly should go a6 to keep the position complicated. In case you trade, it gets pretty simplified. But a6. Is there knight c7? Queen b3 takes... Bishop d3 though, followed by rook a1, looks tricky. I think Vidit should go for it. a6 followed by bishop d3, and all of a sudden you have a big asset there with the pawn on a6. And with Dech's clock, that could certainly cause him some trouble. Also the queen on a7 would all of a sudden be shot out of the game. So I think Vidit should certainly go for it. Is he going to play it? Let's see if he will do it. I think it will definitely give him a chance. He takes on b6 again, but now queen takes b6. This makes Dech's life much easier. We see the queen trade. Because here, yes, it's still a factor that you have 8 seconds, but it's not as much of a factor. Bishop d6, maybe now rook to b7, putting the rook there. And the annoying thing is you don't have an easy way to get rid of that rook. If you go rook c7, there's rook check, rook b8, you go rook a7, keeping the rooks on the board. You can also trade, but it should just be a draw. So I think Vidit missed an opportunity there with pawn a6. Now it should just be headed for a draw. So let's see, rook a7, Vidit keeps the game going, bishop b4, maybe bishop c1, keeping pieces on the board, that's what he does. Rook c8, attacking the bishop b2 maybe? Okay. Bishop d6, maybe now knight e5, rook b7, rook b8. Forcing the trade of rooks. Bishop c1, bishop d6. This one should just be headed for a draw. Let's see what's going to happen. Knight there, bishop b5, attacking the knight jumps around. Knight e5 maybe, h5, good move by Dech. King moves to the middle. I guess at some point you will put the knight here. Let's see if they're just going to move back and forth, or if one player is going to try something to try and win. Dech having the slightly better pawn structure, but Vidit having the bishop pair. So it's dynamically balanced. And neither player can really do much. Knight f5. Knight c2. Okay, I guess you just sit and wait. Dech bring his king around, maybe a check. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. He's putting pressure over here. Okay, Dech, of course, can still flag. He's moving with 2 to 3 seconds. I think they're going to move back and forth here. And there we have it. I called it. All right, so they are all tied after the 5+1 portion. And now we're moving into the 3+1 portion. Let's see what's going to happen here. All right, so game should be starting very soon. Let's see. And we are off. Okay, so we now are playing with a time control of 3 minutes plus a 1 second increment. Dech is not there. Okay, and we're off. Pawn e4. Expect e5 by Vidit. Okay, and we have a reload pass. Berlin variation by Vidit. Okay, so Dech goes down the rook e1 variation. White can hope here for a very small edge, but black is always extremely solid. So d4, bishop f6. Let's see where he's going to go with the rook. Rook e1. Bishop f4. Okay, here you take an e1 and you go knight e8. That's the main line. And white can just defend the pawn with c3. But you can also go for tricky moves. That's queen c3, knight c3 move as well. So let's see what Dech's idea is here. d5 by Vidit, keeping it symmetrical. Maybe c6 alleviating the pressure on that c7 pawn. And so then you can move out that bishop to f5. Looks pretty solid to me. Rook e1, bishop f5 now I expect. And white perhaps is a slightly better position, but generally it isn't enough to pose real problems for black. So let's see what DH is going to do here. Maybe knight b3 or bishop d3. It's probably going to be pretty dry here. Knight b3. You can move this knight into the game with knight d7 to e6. You can also go g6, knight ge7. That's also a pretty typical maneuver. Knight d6 by Vidit. But wait, this allows queen b4, attacking the knight and the pawn on b7. I don't know if Vidit should have allowed that. You have knight b5, but white can take and actually just win a pawn. So slight mistake there by Vidit, and I'm sure DH is looking at this move queen b4. Bishop e7, by the way, loses the game to rook takes e7. So what does Vidit have in mind there? Did he just miss the move queen to b4 altogether? That's quite a sloppy move. He's gonna have to sack a pawn here. I mean, I guess knight b5, it might not be the end of the world because you can still take this pawn on c2, but he is gonna sack a pawn here. A sloppy move there by Vidit. Okay, and DH keeping a decent pace here. Let's see what Vidit's gonna do here. Okay, he's gonna have to move that knight. Knight c4 a possibility as well to attack this pawn over here, but I think white just takes and then takes the pawn on c6. So let's see what Vidit is gonna do. He's now getting down to 2 minutes. Again, the winner of this match will make it into the main event. So the stakes are pretty high here. If you make it into the main event, you're already guaranteed a nice cash prize. Alright, so knight b5. In case of a4, Vidit is banking on the move a5, kicking the queen away. So I think DH should take. Now he has the opportunity. If you wait with a move like c3, wait a5, I just realized white can take. And in case you take, you can take. And there is a back rank checkmate at the end. So a5, a4 on the board. But what Vidit could do is go a5, takes knight takes d4. Nice find there by Vidit. You can go queen d2 back, but then after knight d6, the game is completely even. So DH missed an opportunity there. He could have taken the knight. Again, if taken d4, black takes here. You can take a pawn, but after queen somewhere, let's say here, this is under attack, and black should be doing okay. So let's see what DH is going to do here. I think he just missed an opportunity there. And now he's getting down on time. He's down to 130. I guess you might have to go back to d2, but then after knight d6, black is doing perfectly fine. Let's see what he will play. Alright, again, knight takes a5, there's knight takes d4. Your queen is under attack. You can also move it here, but the queen can always get trapped there. So I think he will eventually decide to go back here. Knight takes a5. I don't think this line really works out for white, like queen d7. This pawn is under attack, and it would also fork the queen and the rook. So like knight here, here. Let's see what Derek is going to go for. But he's dropping down to a minute. Again, he's got to be really careful with his time management. If Vidit can keep the game going here, if he can complicate somehow, that time advantage will definitely be a factor. So let's see what he will do. Okay, he takes on a5. Okay, knight takes d4, knight takes b7. The queen is under attack, queen d7. Vidit spent his time calculating on DH's move. Now, I guess knight to c5 runs into queen c8, and this pawn is still under attack. Okay, knight c5 or queen a7. Fantastic move by Vidit. Keeping an eye on the knight. And how do you deal with this sort of knight takes c2? What do you do here? You cannot stop it. If you go bishop d3, black will take and go knight takes c2 after forking your queen and your rook. You have to play a move like moving the rook, but where? I mean, rook d1, you take here. Tough position for Deo, who is down to his last 12 seconds. He's got to move here. Queen b7. Okay, but now you can trade and take on c2. The rook is under attack. This is under attack. This is under attack. Looks like a great position for Vidit. I'm sure he sees this. You should not take on c2, by the way, because then white trades and goes rook e8. So trade. Takes on c2, rook e2. Okay. Maybe knight back for Vidit. The knight on b7 is also slightly off. You can take this pawn over here, but white is going to push this pawn on the board with a5 and a6. So let's see what Vidit's going to do. He's got 1 minute and 20 seconds on the clock, while Deak is down to his last 12 seconds. So again, the time again, a factor here in this game. Maybe knight d4 back. h6 by Vidit, creating some move for his king. But now Vidit can jump back with the knight. Knight d6 and attack that bishop on f5. Okay, he goes knight c5. I think now Vidit can just take this pawn over here. And he's up a pawn. Is he going to take it? Okay, goes rook a5, attacking the knight. But now Dej can... Okay, he's down to 3 seconds. Got to move. Bishop d6 defending the knight. Okay, if you take now, there might be stuff like... I don't know, check and g4. If you take, there's here. Bishop g6, there's... Okay, g4, tricky move. If you take, there's check and bishop d3. Bishop g6, check. And knight d7. Threatening check over here. How do you get out of this? Maybe you have to move the bishop. The only safe square is over here. And white has got to check, but there's nothing more. Check. There's no mate as you can take the knight, but this looks super tricky for Vidit. I think you have to go bishop b4, the only move not to lose the game. You have to go bishop b4, and he finds it. Check, king here. Is Dej just going to force a repetition? I think so with the time situation. And there we go. The third game also ends in a draw. Vidit certainly missed an opportunity there. He had a big advantage on the clock and on the board, but he let it slip. And so we're off to game number 4 with a 1.5 tie. Okay, so Vidit going for the Italian opening. They're playing very solid. Playing with d6 and a5. Vidit now probably going to bring his knight over to the king side with knight f1 to g3. Dej castles as well, h3 by Vidit. All pretty standard stuff. Let's see what Dej is going to do. There's many setups black can go for. You can go knight e7 to g6. You can go bishop b6. Bishop b5 by Vidit, knight e7. Okay, so d4, Vidit expands in the center. So let's see what's going to happen here. Maybe c6 or knight g6 possible as well. I guess now might be a good time to go knight f1 to g3. Well, let's see which one Vidit will go for. It should be approximately even here. He goes bishop to a4. All right, so he wants to move his bishop back to c2 to add some support to the e4 pawn. c6 by Dej, bishop to c2. Perhaps now is a good time to go rook e8. But I guess white's going to go knight f1 to g3. And if black doesn't have a direct strike in the center, white should be a little bit better because he's got 2 pawns in the middle and he's got more space. So let's see what Dej is going to do. You can also expand on the queen side with a move like b5 followed by a4. So let's see if that is what he's going to go for. Okay. Dej just a move here. Again, he's falling behind on the clock. So let's see what he will play. To me, rook e8 makes sense. h6, of course, makes sense. b5, okay, takes on d4 and d5. But now e5 by Vidit. Knight h5, okay. Knight f1. Let's see. Can black break with a move like f6? That's really what this position revolves around. If not, then I feel like white should have an edge. But if f6 works out, then black might be doing okay. Here he goes, knight f4. Okay, bring this knight back into the game. Knight g3, but now f6 for Dej. Looks pretty good. The bishop on e6 is now protected. f6. Excellent move, trying to open up that f-file for his rook. He also wants to bring the queen in. And in case white recaptures with the pawn, then this bishop is active again. So I like Dej's position here. Let's see what Vidit's gonna do. This does not look easy to deal. Doesn't look easy to deal with at all. Feels like black could easily get a big initiative here on the king side. He's got a pretty solid center, nice development. So let's see what Vidit's gonna do. Let's see what Vidit will do. Not easy at all. Not easy at all for white. Okay, Vidit taking his time is also getting down to 2 minutes. I guess eventually you're gonna have to take here, but black just recaptures with the queen. So black really having some easy moves here, whereas for white he's always gonna have to deal with threats like knight takes h3, knight takes g2, the f-file opening up. So I like black's position. I really like it. Okay, so let's see what Vidit is gonna do. He's getting down to 1 minute and 40 seconds. All right, so maybe just bring the bishop into the game, but I guess then black takes. So let's see what Vidit's gonna do. He's down to 130. All right, I mean maybe trade. No easy moves here for white. Again, that is why Vidit is spending his time. He's thinking like, hey, how should I continue here? But there are no easy moves. He takes an f4. Knight takes maybe queen d2, attacking the knight. And in case it takes, you can take with the knight or with the rook. And at least you have some sort of stability. Okay, I think Dej definitely should take to defend the knight. You do not want to move the knight back. That just looks passive. So this definitely looks like the best way to deal with the threat on the knight. The Armageddon will only happen if there will be a 3-3 tie. So It's a little bit unlikely, but of course it could always happen. Let's see what's going to happen here. DH taking a little bit too long here. I think he should just take an e5. It's a natural move. I'm sure he sees it, and there we go, but it took him 30 seconds. Vidit recaptures with the rook. Maybe now bishop b8. Bring the bishop back into the game. You do not have to move knight takes h3 because you can take, and after rook takes f3, this bishop is hanging on e6. But I guess now Vidit's moves are becoming a little bit easier with the other rook coming to e1. Let's see if Derek really has to find the pace here. Bishop b6 looks like a very natural move. Maybe then queen f6. You cannot fall too far behind on the clock. There's only that 1 second increment. We saw how easy it is to flag, to blunder, all of that stuff. So you really want to keep some time on the clock. But he's getting down to 40 seconds. Let's see what he's going to do. Queen f6, also a good move. Okay, they're spending his time here. He's got to move. He goes queen f6, bring the queen into the game. Maybe now's a good time for auto. Wait, this might run into stuff like knight takes g2. Because if you take this, comes with a check. And if you take here, you take an f3 anyway and you defend the knight over here. So I think the Vidit should perhaps try to exchange off some pieces with a move like bishop to f5. Take, the queen is under attack, but you still have queen d6. But at least you alleviate some of the pressure. So let's see if Vidit's going to go for that. I like the move bishop f5 because also it looks a little bit tricky. And Dirk is down to 27 seconds. So let's see what Vidit is going to do. Knight g5, by the way, also a possibility. Attacking the pawn on h7 and this pawn over here. But again, you do not want to go rook h1 and run into knight takes g2. That would be a bad idea. Okay, knight g5. Attacking the pawn on h7. g6 looks forced here for Dirk. Because after h6 you have knight h7, forking the queen and the rook. Okay, so g6. He's got to move here. He's got to move. He's got to move. 12 seconds. Okay, you got to make a move here. You cannot hang this pawn. You got to go g6. He goes g6, okay. Maybe now rook a1 by Vidit, attacking the bishop. Rook a8. Good move by Dech. Okay. Let's see what Vidit's going to do. Vidit's got a tricky move here. He can perhaps go bishop to f5. If you take, you hang the rook. If you take the pawn, white can take the knight. I don't know if it's good, but at least it looks very tricky with Dech down to his last 4 seconds. Let's see what Vidit's going to do here. Vidit down to 13 seconds as well. What is he going to do? He's got to move. He's got to move. h4, trying to go here with bishop d7 by Dech, trading off some pieces. Maybe now you take. Vidit's got to move. He's down to 4 seconds. We see a trade. Trade. Take. Knight f3, the knight jumping back to e5, good move. Okay, queen e3, taking the bishop, bishop f7. You cannot move this knight because you hang this queen b3. Tricky move, bishop takes d4. Queen e8 back by Dech. Queen e3, bishop c7. Okay, h5 maybe, knight e2, trying to trade with the knight. Queen f6, we see a trade, okay. Queen c3, taking the pawn, maybe bishop c7. Bishop d3. Queen e6, maybe g3 here. Bishop e8, g3, and there we go. Knight e5. Vidit slowly but surely improving his position. He's anchoring in the knight on e5, but now Dech's bishops could come to life. The pawn on d4 is weak. Queen c7, bishop b6. Okay, they're moving back and forth. b4, take. Maybe b5 by Vidit, trying to weaken the pawn on d5. Knight d3, maybe he wants to go here. Okay, bishop c8, queen e3. The moves are coming in super quickly here. Bishop h3, trading off the bishops. The pawn on b7 is hanging now, queen e7, but that's not hanging upon because the pawn on d4 is hanging. G4 by Vidit, expanding on the king side. Queen g3, g5, b6, knight d3. Should all be equal. King g4, king e6. You do not want to allow f5. Vidit now definitely having a big edge here. He's pushing his pawns off the board. g6. G6, can Vidit win this game? Takes, maybe king takes. King takes, and how do you stop the h-pawn? King f8, king f6. h6, king g8. King g8. But there's check and knight e5. And takes white queens first. Check. No, he missed a win. Now it's a draw. King d7. You can sack the bishop at c5. Take and b5. c4. What is going on? Knight f4. This pawn is still on the board. b6. b6. c2. Knight e2. Knight e3. Bishop c5. Only move. b7. Bishop a7. Bishop a7. Okay, and king c6. If you take, okay, d4. It should be a draw here. You cannot get rid of this pawn. You have to go b8. It's just going to be a draw. Wow, what a game. Vidit had it in the bag, but he blundered. He should have just pushed forward. but it ends in a draw. Let's recap that real quick. Right here in this position, Vidit could have pushed 95, threatening checkmate. And if you take white queens with checkmate, what a miss by Vidit. But he went king of 6, and eventually all of the pawns were traded and the game ended in a draw. Wow, what a game. We're going into the bullet portion with a 2-2 tie. Okay, and we're off. DH with the white pieces. Let's see what he's going to do. E4. DH will certainly have to play faster in this portion, and Vidit goes for the Caro-Kann. The 2 knights attack by DH, and Vidit gives up the bishop pair. Let's see, so D4. All right, so we see a trade on E4. Knight of 6. White having a slight edge here with the pawn in the middle and the bishop pair. Vidit still playing quickly. He knows everything. He wants to go knight b4 here, taking the queen. Let's see what is going to happen here. Okay, bishop b2. Gotta go. Gotta go. We're playing bullet chess here. Knight b4. Does he want to... Nah, you cannot sack. Does he want to go queen b3? I guess. Okay, knight e4 by VD. Attacking the knight on c3. Now, bishop d2 you can just take. Bishop d3, okay, takes... You're gonna have to weaken your pawn structure, but the knight on a6 is a little bit off. Okay, pawn takes c3 by DH. Knight c7. Maybe just castles here. Okay, rook b1, attacking this one, which is awkward to defend. You do not want to go queenside castles, as you always can run into an attack. But what else? b5 hangs this. Queen a6 doesn't look like a pretty move either. Knight b5, that's a very crafty way to defend a pawn. a4 is possible. You can take everything on c3, but then you take this. There can also just castle. Let's see what he's going to go for. By the way, a nice tactic. Bishop takes a3, runs into rook takes b5. Take, check here, and you take the bishop. Let's see if that's going to happen. a4 by dash. Vidit's going to take on c3 here with the queen. If you take the knight, there's this, knight d6. Queen c5, that's a nice move, but he doesn't see it. Queen d5. Offering the trade of queens, he trades. Queenside castles, okay. I like Dake's position here. Rook fb on the position really plays itself here. You've got very easy moves. Rook fb1, come on, you gotta go. Gotta go. Rook d7, bishop a6. Bishop a6, if you take, there's check. And it's actually mate. I don't see how you're defending after bishop a6. You cannot defend this pawn. c4, c5 also looks excellent. Bishop a6 on the board. What does Vidit do here? Very tough position. He's got a lead on the clock, but Dake's got the position on the board. Let's see what Vidit's gonna do here. This looks tough. And if Dek wins this game, he comes very close to qualifying to the main event. I guess rook c7, g5, okay, take. But, I mean, you take again, it looks super tough for black. Vidit down to 17 seconds. You gotta take king d8, rook b8 is game over. You've gotta trade the rooks. Takes. Bishop c7. Okay, take, there's king d7. Vidit's still in this game. He wants to go rook b8, maybe trade of the rooks. Dig down to 5 seconds. Rook b8, bring the rook into the game. He's actually threatening mate. g3, king of 1. Okay, rook b2. Take the pawn. Rook b4 doesn't do a whole lot. c5. Maybe just take twice, but then there's bishop b5. Bishop c8! He hangs the rook! Dek is completely winning here. Rook d4, it's game over. Dek up the exchange, up a pawn, and he takes the first game in the bullet portion. If Dek makes a draw in the second game, he is going to go to the main event. Can he hold? Vidit with the white piece. He's going to have to go all out. He's going to have to win this game. All right, so we have another Italian game at our hands here. The opening win all right for Vidit. So let's see, Dek switching it up slightly with the move a6 instead of a5. He drops his bishop back to a7 again. And Vidit expanding on the queen side with the move a4. Kingside castles, h3, h6. Maybe now, again, the knight maneuver. Rook e8. Knight of 1. Or b4 is also moved. Black can go bishop e6 here. Trading off the bishops, which is a very solid approach here. Vidit having a very slight edge here, but he's got to win this game. Bishop e3, trading off the bishops as well. So let's see, d5 by Dek, breaking in the center. Maybe you trade here, misplacing black's rook just a little bit. And now perhaps queen c2, defending that pawn on e4. Okay, I mean, I don't like this move because it allows Dek to trade off the queens. He only needs to draw, so I think, you know, practically speaking, he should go for it. Let's see if he will. He can also, of course, keep the pieces on the board. He takes an e4. Vidit forced to recapture the rook. And rook to a8. Maybe knight e3 here. Takes, there's knight d5. Attacking the knight and threatening a fork. Knight e3. Nice find by Vidit. If you take, there's knight d5. Threatening a fork over here. and attacking the two rooks. b5, maybe knight d5 anyway. Because if you take, there's a fork on the rook and the knight. I like Vidit's position here. Maybe you have to go knight e8, but that looks passive. Let's see. Vidit can go rook a1. Nice move. He wants to take perhaps at the right moment. Or go for the move a5. He takes. Now perhaps knight d2 to b3 to c5 looks like a nice maneuver. But they can try to trade off some knights with the move knight e7. Let's see what Vidit will go for. Alright, he's down on time. He's down on time. Rook d1, knight e7. Knight e7, trade of the knights. That's what you want to do if you only need a draw. Okay, knight e7. Perhaps Vidit has to keep the knights on the board, but then knight d6. It looks like Deak should be fine here. But he's got to move. Knight d6 is out of move as it hangs this pawn. Okay, gotta go. Gotta go. Knight e7. You gotta go. Gotta make a move here. Gotta make a move. Gotta make a move. 11 seconds. And he goes knight e7. A good move. Knight e3. Vidit keeping the knights on the board. Knight d6 now. Taking the pawn over here. Knight d2. Vidit wants to go f3. F3. Okay, that's also a good move. Attacking the pawn. Rook c. Okay, maybe now knight b3. Knight b3 to c5. Vidit certainly having the take. That's a pawn. Take on c7. Can Vidit win this one? He's up one. Knight c5. Knight c5. Knight c5 threatening knight d7. Okay, king e8, maybe knight g4. Look at these knights. They're jumping around. Rook a7. I think you got to keep the rook on the board because your rook is more active than this rook on c8. Rook a6, nice move. It's so easy for black to blunder here. Maybe knight d5. Like, start jumping around. He takes on f5 first. Maybe knight d5 or g4, creating a passer on f4. Knight d5. Knight c4. You can go knight b6. There's no tactic just yet. Vidit moves up his king. King f7, h4, expanding on the king side. King g7. Maybe h5. There's a check over here. Knight b6. Do not go here. There's knight e6. You have to trade. How is he going to defend this pawn? King of 7. Just take. Vidit up 2 pawns. Is he going to make a comeback and take this match to Armageddon? Check. Check. Okay, take another pawn. And Deak just resigns. A little bit surprising in a bullet game. I think you always just got to keep playing. But this match is going down to Armageddon. So white will get a base time of 5 minutes, and they're gonna bid however much time they're willing to play with the black pieces. So this is it, you guys. This is it. The winner of this match goes to the main event. The stage is set. Let's see how much they're both gonna bid. We're waiting for our mods to tell us, but this is as exciting as it gets. We saw before that Deak bid 5 minutes. So he really wanted to play with the white pieces, but he was pretty unconvincing against Yu Yang-yi. He very quickly got lower on time, and he didn't really get anything going on the board. So let's see who will take this Armageddon game. I think Vidit must be feeling pretty good after evening up this match in the final game. So let's see what how much they're both gonna bid. Okay, so we'll just have to wait, and then we'll know. All right, but yeah, feel free to let us know in the chat. Who do you think is gonna win? Is it gonna be Vidit or Deak? Who's gonna make it to the main event? The Armageddon is not bullet. In the Armageddon, white will get 5 minutes, and they're gonna bid how much time they're willing to play with the black pieces. So if, let's say, one player bids 4:30 and the other bids 4:20, the player with 4:20 will play with the black pieces, and 4 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. All right, so let's see what is going to happen. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, some players say Vidit, others say Deak. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But this is it, you guys. This is it. All right, and you know how I said that if black bids 4:20 and the other bids 4:20, the player with 4:20 will play with black. Vidit bid 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and Deak bid 4 minutes and 20. So Deak will get the black pieces and 4 minutes and 20 seconds on his clock. Vidit will get 5 minutes and the white pieces, but he has to win. He has to win. We're gonna lift off very, very soon. So let's see what is gonna happen. Let's see what's gonna happen. Vidit in a must-win situation, but he managed to pull it off in this game. If he can keep the pressure on the clock, on the board, I think he's got great chances. For Deak, the one thing that's really gonna matter is whether he can speed up. There is no room for slow moves here, as there's no increment, and we are off. Vidit opening up with 1 e4, and Deac goes e5, knight f3, and we're probably going for another Italian. Yes, there it is. Vidit d3, bishop c5. They're playing super quickly right out of the gate. Let's see what Deac is going to do. In the 3+1 portion, he played a5, but in the 1+1 portion, he played a6. So let's see what he's going to do here. He goes back to a5. Okay, perhaps now, okay, we see h3 by Vidit, h6 by Deac, knight b2, bishop b6. You can trade, but bishop b5, keeping the pieces on the board, knight d7 perhaps. Deac wants to break with a quick f5, but he goes d5, knight g3. Vidit really cannot be unhappy about this opening. He's got all of the pieces on the board, but Deac is playing quickly. Okay, so takes an e4, recaptures, queen f6. Okay, maybe a move like queen e2, keeping the tension, and making sure that in case black takes, you can recapture with the knight. Rook fd8, good move. I guess you want to move a rook to the d file, but if you move the a rook, you hang this pawn here, which probably is why Vidit plays b3, also stopping a4 from Deac, bishop f8 by Deac, no longer offering the trade of bishops. And again, maybe now it's time to move the rook into the game, and there we go. Let's see what Deac is going to do. Maybe you can go for a maneuver like knight e7 to g6 to f4, or, you know, knight a7, you can just move the bishop back to c4 or d3. Vidit still having that edge on the clock here. Deac really has to be careful. He's taking a think here, and he settles on knight to a7. Okay, let's see what Vidit's going to do. I guess he's going to drop his bishop back, just keeping the pieces on the board. You could also go to c4, also looks completely fine. You can trade. Let's see what he's going to do. If Vidit loses, he can still play the second qualifier, which will start tomorrow. Yeah, but this is their chance. The winner of this matchup will qualify to the main event. So both players must be feeling nervous. Bishop to d3 by Vidit, keeping the pieces on the board. But look at the clock. Now he's up only 15 seconds. I think he's got to try to keep that edge on the clock. Knight c8, a nice move by Deac, re-maneuvering his knight. Maybe knight g3 by Vidit. a4 is a move to try to activate that rook. Let's see if he's going to go for it. He can also bring the knight back into the game here. He goes g6, also looks perfectly fine. Maybe a move like bishop c4 by Vidit. It will trade off some pieces, but, you know, he goes knight h2. Understandable. He wants to go knight g4, keeping pieces on the board. And, I mean, it would ask black, like, what is he going to do? Are you going to take, give the bishop pair? If you go h5, I think Vidit will just jump back and try to go here with his bishop or with the knight. So, asking some questions for Deac. And Deac, again, 30 seconds down on the clock. He goes knight d6, knight g4, queen h8. It looks passive, but hey, what are you going to do? There's no good way to increase the pressure. And on the next move, he can kick the knight away with h5. I think Deac is looking pretty fine here, but he's still down 20 seconds on the clock. So c4 by Vidit, b6, a nice move by Deac, stopping Vidit from expanding on the queen side with the move c5. All right, let's see what Vidit's going to do. Deac looks pretty fine here. He can go like knight b7, maybe here. Vidit taking his time. The clocks are evening up. Big shout out to our great commentator GM Hess in the chat. Yeah, some nice knight maneuvers by Vidit, bishop h6, but Deac is also playing some great chess here. The time is evening up, and I don't like this bishop on b1. It looks pretty dead over here. Perhaps Vidit had to trade it earlier with bishop to c4, but it's pretty understandable that in wow. Bishop takes b6. Now he's got the move c5, but does this work out in his favor? Like, black can just ignore it. You can just go like a4, and if takes, takes. And what is there not to like? You've got the bishop pair. Queen f6 by Deac. Okay, I guess Vidit has to take one of the knights, but I like Deac's position. He's got the bishop pair here. He's got a very healthy pawn structure. And again, I don't like this bishop on b1. It's not doing much. Vidit takes on d6. I guess you take with the pawn, but taking with the rook is fine as well. All right, so let's see what Vidit's going to do. Time is evened up here. Vidit actually down a couple of seconds. Knight f3 back. Maybe now a4 by Deac, opening up that rook on the a file. Looks like a pretty good move. Let's see if he's going to go for Deac, taking his time. I also wonder who's better in a potential time scramble. I guess Deac a little bit more experienced, but I'm sure that Vidit can also hold his own. Deac taking a real think here. Time was even, but now he's down 20 seconds on the clock. He's got to go. He's got to go. You cannot take this much time in a blitz game with no increment. Let's see what he's going to do. He's got to move a4, good move. b4 instantly by Vidit, but now a3, fixing that weakness on b2, and it also gives this knight on a4 some entry squares. Then I can go here, I can go to c3, or to b2. I don't like this for Vidit. Queen c2, okay. Maybe knight a4 to b2, or he's attacking this pawn over here. You're going to have to deal with that, so knight c4, good move. Vidit has the move, knight f5 in case it takes. Queen c3, okay. Keeping the tension. Vidit up a little bit of time here. Can he find a way to win this game? But Deac again in the tank. What is he going to come up with? He's got to play a little bit faster. He's going to play a little bit faster. Someone's asking in the chat if Vidit wants to play a game, but I think he's busy playing this Armageddon. All right, let's see what Deac's going to do. He goes Queen d8, a good move, but again, it took him 20 seconds. I guess now maybe you trade. Black is going to recapture. I like Deac's position. I like it a lot. Bishop c2, nice move by Vidit. He can now... Oh wait, this rook is under attack. So I guess you might have to trade, maybe then Bishop b3. But it looks pretty good for Deac. He goes Rook a1. Wow, defending the pawn on a2. A little bit passive, but it keeps pieces on the board. And this pawn on e5 is under attack. Is Deac going to defend it with a move like bishop to g7? That would move the bishop back to a more passive diagonal. Deac, I like his position, but the time, maybe now knight f1 to e3, bringing the knight back into the game. The knight on g3 doesn't really have a future. Knight f1, great move. Great move. And again, look at the clock. Look at the clock. Knight d3, attacking the rook and the pawn over here. I don't know if you want to take, but do you want to allow the knight at f4? I don't know. Let's see what Vidit's going to do. I think it makes sense to keep pieces on the board. You can also, well, if you take, there's bishop takes h3 at the end. So I think Vidit just has to move the rook. And I think here, because then knight f4 does not pose the threat of knight e2. All right, thanks to GM has in the chat. Okay, rook e3, knight f4 on the board. Maybe bishop e3, trying to trade off that active bishop king h2 by Vidit. g5, g4 perhaps, going all out on the king side. Queen e8 by Deac. Vidit still up a little bit of time. Can he pull this off? Bishop e3, trading off the bishops, good move. And if he gets the time to move that knight in, he's doing pretty all right. Let's see what Deac's going to do. Who's falling behind on the clock? 1 minute and 12 seconds. He's got to go. He's got to speed up. He's got to speed up here. You cannot play this slow because there's no increment. If you have no time, you lose the game. You got to move here. Maybe rook c6. He's down to his last minute. You got to move here. You got to move. You cannot play this slowly. You got to move. There's no increment. Queen b5. Fine move. Let's see what Vidit's going to do. Maybe move this knight, but is there knight e2? Vidit must feel the pressure. He knows that he's got a real chance here. He's got a time. Okay, knight g5, putting pressure on the bishop. I like it. Maybe a rook c6 now. Rook c6, a tricky move. If you trade, you recapture the queen and attack this pawn. Okay, so maybe just rook d7 or queen d7. Knight e6. Okay, trade. This game is starting to look better and better for Vidit on the board. And he's got that edge on the clock. Rook c3 now, taking this pawn over here. Knight e2 runs into this. Rook c3, good move. Vidit up 30 seconds on the clock. He should win this game. He should win this game. The position is equal, and he's got an edge on the clock. Deac is still thinking. He's down to his last 35 seconds. He's got to move here. Queen b7, taking the pawn. Maybe it's time to move the knight in, or queen c2. Vidit, can he pull it off? Rook c4, fine move. If he... Deac, you got to move 30 seconds. Rook d6, rook c1. Bring the rook into the game. c6, knight e3. Just move, just move. Move, okay. Bishop h6, good move by Deac. Okay, maybe just move the rook out of the pin. Okay, good move. Is he gonna trade? Vidit should win this one. He's got a better position. He's up on the clock. Or, well, the position is equal, but he's up on the clock. Okay, take. Good move by Deac. Okay, you don't quite want to do this, but you want to keep these on board. Rook d8, rook d3 is coming now. Vidit let it slip. Rook f2, rook c3, rook d2, check. Uh-oh, this game is getting out of control. Check. But can Deac finish it off with 20 seconds on his clock? Queen b5. He's threatening check and mate. Vidit let it spin completely out of control, but queen c4, good move. Can he flank Deac? Check, take. It's a draw now. Take, take, take to take. Take and rook a6. Take and rook a6. Rook a check and rook a6. Take the pawn. Yes, you're going to be down a pawn here, but you can flag him. 14 seconds. This should be a flag for Vidit. Rook a5. Can he pull it off? f6 check. Can you check rook here? f5. Okay, move. King up, as long as you do not get checkmated. He should win this game. Rook up. And Deac hangs his rook. And that's it. Vidit qualifies to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship. Wow. What a game. What a game. What a game. I was on the edge of my seat. I guess I'm not the only one. But Vidit pulls it off. He was going to flag Deac, but Deac hung his rook. What a game. Wow. Deac played a great game, but he was just a little bit too slow, and so Vidit kept the pressure on the clock and eventually manages to pull off the win. What a game, what a game. So Vidit, together with Yu Young-yi, qualifies to the 2023 Speed Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. Let's have a final look at our bracket. So we see here that Yu Young-yi won the winner's bracket. He defended Deac. Deac coming so close. He loses 2 Armageddons. He does not make it to the main event. but Vidit does, and so does Zhu Yongyi. However, there is another qualifier tomorrow, so Dex still has a chance, but that must be a heartbreaker. That must be a heartbreaker, losing 2 finals and missing out. But what a heroic performance from Vidit. He had to go all the way through the loser's bracket. He won like 4 matches, but he does make it into the Speed Chess Championship. So great stuff all around. And yeah, another qualifier will take place tomorrow. That one will be hosted by Kostya Kovutsky. I think we're gonna wrap up pretty soon. But what a day of chess. What a day of chess. I felt like Deck had it in the bag, but he just got too long time. And Vidit kept his nerves together and eventually managed to pull off the flag. I know he does not like winning like this, but of course he would rather win like this than lose. So great stuff by Vidit. He kept his nerves, and at the end he managed to win this super important game. So Vidit, very deserving of a place in the main event. He's rated well over 2700, super strong grandmaster, and so I'm pretty excited to see him compete. He's probably going to compete against. He's probably going to play one of the top seeds, but I think he's got a real shot. Anyway, guys, we're going to sign off over here. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. Kostya is going to host qualifier number 2. Maybe I'll play in that one myself. If you're a GM or a title player, you can play. At any rate, I do hope that all of you guys enjoy watching, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow, it will be at a different time. It's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern, but we will see you guys then. Thanks for watching, everyone.